Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Okay, I've got a guest today, and we weren't sure if we were both in screen. So, no, I think this is. You might have to get up.
I'm taking
get a little closer.
Hang, that's what she said. Let me take the sweatshirt off.
Okay, yeah, but you got to stand up and show everybody the ensemble, because this is.
The ensemble is I went full Monty. You already see the hat,
Yeah, but you got to
including
show.
the mask and the hat. So I always say my mask is on my
Okay,
head.
you got. Okay, look, the pants, and he's got underwear on too as well, and a backpack.
See?
It's all, and the shoes and the socks, like. If you don't
Even
think,
even the shoelaces, folks. Even the shoelaces.
definitely the chair of the tie-dye caucus. You gotta show the backpack. Come on, this is beyond
The sweatshirt.
the sweatshirt. When he walked in the door, I'm like, a color factory just vomited all over my living room.
I've always said I look like an explosion in a paint factory. So you know.
Richard McKinley says, "Oh snap, the shoes."
Funny thing is that Converse has discontinued those.
I think
I caught one of the last pairs.
we really just look like a color factory just vomited between you and I.
So?
And my shirt today is, you don't even know, because you don't. And I got my Barbie one underneath it, but I was cold. But you don't even know for sure.
What can we say? We're good at branding.
Oh, we definitely. And you know what?
Not to be confused with branding.
I'm going to take this branding. Oh, I'm going to, if I can move it, because, yeah, it was over your face. See, I'm being nice to you.
Yes, Richard is full ensemble. I do that
There we
occasionally.
go. So today, we are going to be,
Just be thankful I'm wearing underwear.
well, or not. This isn't Cultivar and R. It's not supposed to be dirty.
Why not?
So, you guys said you can hear us well, I hope, because we scramble to get ready. We were upstairs until about 2 seconds before this show trying to pull clips. So today's kind of a free-form LNC recap. We are not organized hardly at all. We have lots of feels.
Why change what doesn't work?
Right. We have lots of feels. We have lots of thoughts. I figured people listening will have lots of feels and lots of thoughts and might have lots of questions. Depending on how it goes, we might run through some of the audio from the LNC meeting, like at double speed to find parts we want to stop at and talk at. But before we do, I have to do my grifting, and also because I haven't done this for Doc Sexy in a while, we have to do his entrance music.
Chicka wow wow.
That's for Doc Sexy. You too, if you have an interesting screen name, could get your own entrance music. We need one for Death. I need to come up with a sound effect for when Death comes in.
Death!
Yeah,
Grandpa Simpson.
Yeah. I think that I'll have to put that into the lineup for Death when he comes.
Yeah,
'cause
Grandpa
it's always,
Simpson. Death!
It's always so ominous.
Death!
So the LNC meeting, if you guys didn't see it, was 5.5 hours, 5 hours and 29 minutes.
I don't know, but I ain't gonna get that time back in my life.
Yeah,
that's for
of a
sure.
complete and absolute abortion. I mean, whoa.
You look at that meeting and go, what a waste of food and oxygen.
It was like, didn't they, when they removed me, said they were going to become productive?
They didn't say when. Obviously, that wasn't the case.
Obviously not then. Wow.
5.5 hours for whatever it was accomplished absolutely nothing.
I love when Rich Bowen afterwards put that meme up where it said, to-do list for LNC, nothing, and he checked it off.
Death for death, an old Futurama quote. Is this angry yelling or busted hearing aid yelling? I'm afraid it's both.
Yeah. So it was bad. And it was bad, in, not just that it was so long, because LNC meetings are long. I know people complain about that. That's not really a fair criticism.
At least usually they accomplish
Yeah,
something.
yeah. You usually pass at least one motion. This is what they accomplished. They accomplished unilaterally deciding no public comment without even a vote. Mm-hmm. No vote. Just that.
We can't talk to the membership.
It's
It's beneath us.
Which is why I did my like spontaneous outburst just review. I wasn't planning on doing that. I was planning on just hanging out and maybe being in chat.
Frankly, I was jumping between their one and yours, and your MST3K version was much better.
Yeah, because the spontaneous outbursts, like every time somebody said something, like, shut up!
we gotta find a way to do one of those, but instead of having the camera on you, the camera's behind you, and you're in the black shadow like MST3K.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I'm going to be doing that for every LNC meeting now, except for the one I'm going to be in Boston at, because I'll be in the gallery and I can't really just go, shut up!
Well, but you can put it in the chat window. I would restream.
I can, or depending on what's going on, I might actually go out in the hall and leave my camera in the room that feeds into my computer. That way I can do all of my extemporaneous things.
Until they unplug it.
Yeah. And they turned the chat off. No motion, nothing. They just decided the peasants had no say here. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, there is chat at the YouTube stream, which is what people keep bringing up. But the LNC doesn't watch the YouTube stream. And the chat...
Waldorf and Statler, Richard? That's an idea.
Which
one do you want to be, Waldorf or Statler?
I never watched any of that side.
You never watched The Muppet Show?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, you missed some of the best lowbrow comedy of the late 70s, early 80s.
No, I never did. So yeah, Stephen Ecker brings up an interesting point. Well, not just the censure. Okay, realize something here. In our bylaws, at least in the language, suspension of an LNC member is in wording very much equivalent to disaffiliation. So they couldn't bring themselves to disaffiliate Delaware for all that obviously and admittedly shady crap that McVeigh did. Mm-hmm. Yet, they found it perfectly easy to remove me for criticizing them. I just want people to really have that sink in, that they could not manage to disaffiliate a state in which he broke all of the rules. He broke their own bylaws. He threw out all of their members. He admitted that is exactly what he was doing. And the LNC was just like, But I criticized them, and they're like, what's that? Yeah, Charlie.
Off with their heads!
Or Charlie the Unicorn. What was that? Heretic! It's like...
They go through all that. They what you just described. Plus, they disenfranchised any Delaware national members at the same time. And they're saying, we can't do a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. You did.
I mean, you had actual admitted malfeasance. Because McVeigh, I'll give it up to him. He didn't admit he broke the rules, but he did admit everything he did was shady shit.
Yeah, he didn't duck it. He said, yeah, I did it, so what?
Yeah, and he's like, sometimes extraordinary times require extraordinary measures, basically.
But the LNC refused to do the extraordinary measure themselves.
Right, but they found it easy to throw out a duly elected secretary with more than 50% of the vote, unlike, and I will say this every single time, Laura Epke, Valerie Sarwark, and Richard Longstreth, who couldn't even manage to get 40% of the vote. No
lies detected.
No lies detected whatsoever. Now, again, fairly, they might have gotten it on a second round. It's not their fault we didn't get to a second round. But the reality is, on the first round, they did not get 50%, and I did. Mm-hmm. And all I did was criticize them. Because nobody has yet to prove, and I have asked, show me an actual example of fraud, harassment, or whatever else the bogus shit that they kept coming up with.
Remember, they think criticism is harassment.
Well, I know, but I'm waiting for somebody to actually prove something.
Yes, folks, I am awake. It's just my eyes are kind of slatted.
Yeah, it's, was I harsh? Yeah. Was Will McVeigh harsh? Yeah, and unethical. So it's just absolutely crazy. The lack of priorities and scale of this LNC. And I'm going to say this disclaimer at the beginning. When I say this LNC, obviously I'm not referring to every single member.
No.
There were some heroes at this meeting. And the unexpected hero, I don't know if you'll agree, who would you say was the hero of the meeting? Who was the best LNC member at that meeting?
Ironically enough, I'm going to say Hogarth.
She was on the right side, but I'm talking about in arguing the case. But she was on the right side. She was one of the good ones at this meeting.
Yeah.
Pat Ford.
Okay.
Pat Ford's arguments were the absolute best. He was on fire. And Stephen Nikala. Stephen Nikala and Pat Ford had the best arguments. Now,
Nikala's been on the money for a while anyway. But
who was on the right side? Susan Hogarth was definitely on the right side. Mm-hmm. Susan Hogarth is not a good debater. I don't even think she would deny that. She's good on paper, like she's good typing out debates, but she's not a good verbal debater, and I don't think she would deny that. I don't think this is insulting her at all. Some people are not good verbal debaters.
It depends on who you are. I have trouble with it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So that's not, she might take it as an insult, and I hope not, because when I want to insult you, Susan, I make it very clear, and I do it quite often. I am not trying to insult you right now. You're just not a good debater. And I think even afterwards, when she regretfully said at the LNC list, if this is when TJ was saying that they followed the rules technically, and Susan said, if that's the impression you came away with at this meeting, then I have failed Delaware. And you want to know what something that actually hurt my heart to see her say that, because I know she was trying to do what was best for Delaware.
Oh, yeah, she was.
But the funny thing is, she did fail Delaware, but not in not convincing TJ. She failed Delaware by removing the one person that would have had her back and explained how they didn't follow the rules. Because the rest of that LNC is just not very good at Roberts, and that's, again, not an insult.
No.
Everyone has their strengths.
The best person on there right now, in the absence of you, is Melman for Roberts.
Yes, definitely.
Period.
Yes, definitely. And he's not confrontational the way I am.
Yeah, Mr. Longstreth thinks he is, but he's not.
He used to be at one time, but you have to keep up with it.
You do, and I don't think he has.
He hasn't. Because some of the things he said were just so off the mark. And Richard used to be really good with Roberts.
And I say that because we're going through the test right now.
And we're like, oh my God.
I'm supposed to be somewhat decent at this, but I'm having trouble with it.
Yeah, no, you have to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Like on the LNC list where Richard agreed with John Wilford's comment about the bylaws and he's technically right, so don't have a cow yet. Where he goes, bylaws shouldn't be able to be amended by less than, he was upset because they were being able to be amended by 50%. But what neither of them noticed, because what was Richard's brag? He made every attempt to not know anything. Delaware doesn't have just bylaws. They have a constitution. They call it Articles of Association. Right. But they have a constitution and bylaws. So why Richard didn't point out when you have both documents, it is customary to amend your bylaws by 50%. Yeah. That's not odd at all. And the fact that Richard didn't catch that and let John Wilford just blah, 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 blah about that shows me he's out of practice.
Richard's quote, and I quote,
yeah.
I have purposely avoided learning anything about this, unquote. That is in an email. We have the receipts.
Mom always has receipts. I think if he runs, that needs to be his campaign slogan.
Oh, what's going up on the something 11 poster that's going to go out?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what we're going to title it yet, but it's going to be something like that.
What was the quote again?
I have purposefully avoided learning anything about this.
Yeah, and O'Donnell says, and Justin, let me tell you, everyone go subscribe to his channel, and I'm not grifting for this. He has paid me nothing, but you can if you want to.
I would endorse that too, and I'm getting paid nothing for it.
Yeah, you can if you want to, O'Donnell, but your show has been on fire, and so Justin says, hopefully it doesn't go to the JC so that Judge Verman can write another embarrassing poem as an opinion about bylaws. What a freaking joke. But Justin, God, I was getting all confused. I'm going to be doing a Liberty Boudoir with some quotes from your show. Your show with AJ Olding was excellent. I've got all kinds of quotes I pulled out of that show.
I think I missed that one, unfortunately.
It's called The Doers.
Okay.
And it's really good. Now, there's one point I disagree with you, Justin, on, but not strongly. And I might end up agreeing next year because, my opinion's getting changed on a lot of things. I talked with Starchild for 2 hours yesterday, which is a short conversation with Starchild. And I actually...
Did it make sense?
Yeah, no, it was excellent. It was an excellent...
There are times with him, you gotta wonder.
No, it was a great conversation. And there was something he used to say that I didn't agree with that I agree with now. And I want to bring this up because it just goes show, again, what hypocrites that some people on the LNC are, particularly John Phillips. It is... Starchild once put in his conflict of interest disclosures, which Alicia didn't include, and you're supposed to include everything, even if you don't agree it's a conflict.
In the minutes, right?
No, in the conflict, in the list, right.
That should be in the minutes.
Yeah, it's an attachment to the minutes.
Got it.
And Starchild put in a standard disclosure that he holds the interests of liberty at large more important than the interests of the Libertarian Party. That his ultimate duty is to liberty and not to the party, and as long as the interests of the party align with liberty, there's no issue. And I used to disagree with him on that. I used to say that as elected officials, our highest fiduciary duty is to the party. But I realized how party for party's sake that is, and I think in the future, if I'm ever reelected, Reno, please, to the LNC, I'm going to include that same disclosure.
Well, the thing of it is, and I think this is a key point, is that fiduciary duty to the party is one thing, but duty to your principles above that is totally different.
Yeah, and I disagree with them.
The two don't necessarily overlap.
They should.
They don't necessarily overlap, but they should. You're right.
Right, they should.
If anything, the fiduciary thing should be a subset to the broader piece.
But you want to know why I changed my mind? Because of what happened to me. The LNC kept claiming by criticizing the party, I was harming the party. But my higher duty was to liberty, and I don't think I was harming the party. I think in upholding my duty to liberty.
1,300 emails of support for you to say otherwise.
Yes.
Even if the JC didn't properly understand the
context. We're going to dissect the JC in another show.
With lasers, scalpels, and plasma torches.
Yeah. We're going to do point-by-point rebuttal of the JC, and we're going to break it into small shows so that people who don't want to watch a 10-hour stream, like why you wouldn't want to watch one of my 10-hour streams.
And trust me, we got a lot there.
Yeah. And
even stuff we don't necessarily agree upon.
And this is going to sound dirty, but Wayne just brought me some sausage.
Ooh, baby.
Thank you. Ooh, baby.
Although, who was it? Doc Sexy said you should bring
Wait, hold
popcorn
on.
too.
Hold on. Here we go.
Chicka wow wow.
Now you got to do the Tom Jones routine with the sausage.
So I'm going to include that disclosure. But you don't want to know what disclosure I missed that would have kept me from being removed? John Phillips has a certain disclosure that I forgot about that I included faithfully. But he should probably be removed for this disclosure.
Is wood carving?
No. He says in his disclosure that he's an incorrigible asshole. That was one of his disclosures. Go look on the conflict of interest.
And why?
Well, I mean, no
we
lie
know it's
detected.
true, but
Yeah.
why would it be?
Yeah, no lie detected, but you're not allowed to be an incorrigible asshole. So maybe because he disclosed it.
Which part was okay? The incorrigible part or the asshole part?
I think it's the combination, but perhaps because he disclosed he was an incorrigible asshole. That's why I failed.
So his walk-in music is Dennis Leary. Okay, we got it.
See, I failed to disclose that I'm an incorrigible asshole. So in my future disclosures, I will put that. But that just goes to show the hypocrisy.
It will also see who's paying attention to what's in the minutes.
Because, okay, so he's allowed to submit to the secretary profanity, which is very indecorous, and admit he's incorrigibly an asshole, and it's in his conflict of interest disclosures. But the hypocrisy is just so great, and I even forgot that was in his disclosures because it's been in there since day one.
You have to understand for these evil 11 for the moment that, for lack of a better term, that if there wasn't for double standards, we wouldn't have any standard at all.
I mean, it's crazy. I think I'm going to disclose. Sorry, I don't want to have my irascible bitch. I'm going to put in mine. If you can be an incorrigible asshole, I can be an irascible bitch.
You can't use the term anarchist bitch.
Oh.
No, that's owned by the Keaton.
No. Can I be irascible?
Maybe.
Can I be co-bitch with her?
Ask her.
Okay.
But she has full claim to the right anarchist bitch.
Okay. But the fact that was allowed in professional minutes and he gets no pushback. None.
It's because nobody's paying attention.
It's because, whatever. We all know what happened, but let's get back to Delaware because we're going to talk more about that.
For liberty back in the day, women after the quill. The quill, the vermin?
Unless we put comments up, I'm trying not to read them because it really distracts the audience. Have no idea what we're talking about. But you want to know something? Here's how you do it. If you ever want to put a comment up, just go to here and hit add to broadcast, and that way you can. So take full control of my mouse, baby. Of my trackball. You want to rub my trackball? But that way people know.
Is that a mouse in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Because people, I have found watching back my streams how distracting it is when we're reading comments and the listeners don't know what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to eat some more sausage right now. This is definitely going to be X-rated.
That's what she said.
That's good though. Beepy.
For those of you who haven't seen the movie Tom Jones, go rent it and watch the scene where they're eating dinner. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
I will not go any further. Just go watch it for yourself, and you'll understand.
I'm just doing this so you don't have to see my chewing. So go on.
I don't care about your chewing.
I do. That's gross. I hate when I see people
Well,
chewing.
then close your mouth.
No, it is.
Don't chew your mouth open. No, don't. Just chew.
So Doc Sexy says fan service. Yeah, it's definitely some fan service going on there.
Now that one has multiple meanings.
Oh, but I forgot all my grifting. Okay, yeah. So, down along the bottom, but because this will be a long live stream, super chats are always indeed welcome. And I just got my restream bill. I forgot how much restream is a year. You don't even want to know. Oh my God. But it's worth it for all the streaming out on all the platforms.
Yeah.
But I just got my restream bill.
Sorry, I was on my ticker tape invitation there for a second.
I got sticker shock. So, Delaware. We're in Delaware.
Or if you prefer, in the current situation, Delawarped.
Yeah, so the LNC managed
that's about right.
to spend 5 hours and 30 minutes doing absolutely
nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Now, we're going to play some of it, but I want to play...
Not all of it.
Not all of it. We're going to play some of it maybe or we might just hop around a bit, you know. The bottom line is, the LNC, here's where a big problem is. And we'll start dealing with this in the beginning of it. And again, definitely want your comments. But the LNC seems to think that recognizing who the proper officers are is interfering in the autonomy of an affiliate. If that were true, every single convention that a chair writes the LNC to say, hey, we elected new people at this convention, you need to change the website or whatever, that would be interfering in the autonomy of an affiliate. It is just absolutely ridiculous. And this is the precedent that they have set.
The acknowledgement of who was properly elected by the delegates at the state level is not interfering with the autonomy. It's acknowledging the autonomy.
Exactly. Now,
if they're saying no, that they're not legit, then you're interfering. We're saying, okay, no problem. That's acknowledging.
Right. And the fact is, in order for us to do delegates and everything else, we have to know who to communicate with.
Right.
Now, there is a line, though, because people will pull up old quotes of mine, and I may have changed my mind on some old quotes. Go figure, you learn things. But if they pull up
learn things.
Old things
Once
about...
we say it, it's set in concrete for all time.
The differences between this and Oregon. Because Richard kept spouting off about Oregon. And the fact is, Richard doesn't know shit about Oregon.
I know a lot about Oregon, and it was a cluster.
Right. What Richard knows about
there.
Oregon is just me talking about Oregon. And in Oregon's situation, it was absolutely the LNC should have not gotten involved for multiple reasons. But the main reason, let's not even go into all of the who was funding lawsuits and all of that shady crap.
Yeah, you can go read about that in IPR if you want.
The problem was on both sides. And listen, I got a personal go F yourself from Wes Wagner for saying this. So, and I love Wes. I laughed when he said that to me.
Yeah, I always got along just fine.
Yeah,
so.
no, I love Wes. Getting a go F yourself from Wes was like...
Was it the flaming version or just a regular?
No, it was just IPR where he was just like... Because, in my opinion, in Oregon, and I think it's pretty obvious, both sides did wrong. And it was because neither side could follow their bylaws, because their bylaws were so screwed up that they couldn't have a convention.
It was impossible to do so.
And both sides... Nobody had a clean claim. Nobody did, okay? In a situation like that, the LNC needs to stay out. They needed to disaffiliate.
Yeah.
That was the only way to handle Oregon, was to disaffiliate, because there was no clean claims. When there are two competing, allegedly, set of officers, neither of which were elected cleanly at a convention, the LNC needs to butt out and disaffiliate. Mm-hmm. However, that is not the case in Delaware. And to compare Delaware to Oregon just shows that you are utterly ignorant and unashamed to show it.
Yeah, the Oregon situation, I was around on the periphery when this happened.
And I'm going to eat some sausage while you're talking.
Had to do with, as you said, it was impossible for either faction, whether it was the Wagner faction or the Burke faction, to conduct a convention because the bylaws were so jacked up they couldn't do anything with it. The only legitimate claim the Wagner faction had was that the Secretary of State of the state of Oregon recognized them as a legitimate party, whereas the Burke faction was seeking recognition through the LNC. The Burke faction was tied into the Star Chamber at the time and went through some Judicial Committee rigmaroles in the LNC and a bunch of other stuff. And
you just said more that you know about Oregon than Richard Longstreth forgot.
Yes, and I was on the periphery at the time. I saw it all unfold. And the reality of it was, again, neither really had a good position to work from. And I know Wes, and he and I talked quite a bit about it at the time. And his position relied specifically on the fact the Secretary of State recognized them as a legit party.
And the JC did too, as well.
And the JC did too. But the LNC decided, we can just ignore the JC's ruling. And that led to a giant floor fight.
No, actually, no, the LNC ruled first.
Yeah. The JC
there was a letter, there were two JC rulings. Mm-hmm. But no, the LNC had an executive session in which they recognized the Burke faction.
Right.
Then the Wagner faction appealed, claiming constructive disaffiliation.
Right.
And the funny thing is, constructive disaffiliation, which is what the LNC just did to, let's call them the factions now, even though I don't think one's a usurper and one's the actual
They did it
board.
to at least a legitimate faction.
The legitimate board.
Legit board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Hines board
Yeah.
was just constructively disaffiliated by the LNC. And Whitney, who is so into precedent, has to recognize that is a cause of action now. So they have a case. I don't know if they're going to appeal. I've encouraged them to appeal.
Wouldn't be surprised if they do.
And you want to know who legitimized the idea of constructive disaffiliation, and this is just so sweet. Nicholas Sarwark, because he was on the JC at the time.
Back in the Oregon case, yes,
and he
was.
recognized that constructive disaffiliation, when the LNC recognizes one board over the other without an actual disaffiliation vote, is a thing. Thank you, Nick.
And the thing of it is, they should have learned the lesson of Arizona before that and before Oregon to realize that.
Yeah, so
And Arizona goes back in the early 2000s,
Right.
which is a whole different story.
But
that was before my time.
Again, that nobody's been bringing it, but everyone
Yeah.
keeps, saying Oregon, like they effing know what they're talking about, and they don't. Nobody there might be a couple people on the LNC who know a little bit about it, but I devoted way too much time in my life to Oregon, and I brought up the receipts the other day. Oregon is the whole reason I ran to be on the LNC, to protect Colorado.
Thinking back, because this was around 08, 09 when that happened, Hogarth was around. I know that.
Yeah, and they were backing the Wagner faction.
But I don't know if anybody else on the LNC was around at that point to remember what happened. I'm not sure. Ken Melman might have been.
Molman was.
He was in the party, but I don't know if he was actually at the LNC point at that point.
Well, Hogarth wasn't on the LNC either. She was forming the Radical Caucus.
Right, but she was around. She was aware of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the rest of them, I'm not totally sure, to be honest.
Yeah, and Justin says Gilletta used the exact language for the coup explanation. Correct.
Uh-huh.
And she got that from Sarwark.
Yeah.
But there was no constructive there is such a thing as constructive resignation. I don't think that is a BS thing. Like if you
Okay, you better explain that one.
Okay, a constructive resignation of a chair, I think actually happened in Kent County, Delaware. You don't know about this.
You're right, I don't know about this. Do tell.
This gets into the whole Delaware thing. On the Delaware board, each of the three counties have two representatives.
Right.
So Kent County, which is the county that Will McVeigh is chair of, had a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Kent, Newcastle, I think Wilmington, but anyway, keep going.
Yeah, and Will McVeigh refused to hear points of order. Like, he just refused to hear them.
Which is a complete violation
Right.
of parliamentary law.
So the board, and then he just unilaterally adjourned the meeting.
Which is also wrong.
So the rest of the board went to the other side of the restaurant and invited Will to come and said, no, this was all illegitimate. We are continuing our meeting.
Uh-huh.
He refused to come. Mm-hmm. They appointed a chair pro tem, and they set up an investigation committee to look into Will's actions.
In other words, they followed Roberts.
Exactly. Now, if Will keeps refusing to come to these meetings because they're doing things he don't like, I believe you could say he has constructively resigned as chair, even if he doesn't officially resign as chair. There are cases of constructive resignation. And it's very similar. The LNC constructively disaffiliated Delaware. I almost said New Hampshire. Oh my God, yes.
The Hines Group, yes.
Yeah, oh well, definitely here too, like Justin said. And thank you for the super chat. He constructively resigned, expelling 2,000 members. Yeah, I mean, to me, his actions are so gross that I do think there are situations in which there are such a thing as constructive resignation.
There can be, yes.
There's no constructive resignation, such as in New Hampshire, when the chair just doesn't happen to agree with the communications committee, which is what happened there. A normal board, that would be like the LNC saying, because I criticized them, I constructively resigned. No, I didn't. I was still showing up for meetings. You just didn't like what I had to say.
The only thing close to a constructive resignation is if you refuse to appeal your suspension.
Right. And in state parties, if the officer, without officially resigning, refuses to perform their duties, like chair meetings, Nick, in refusing to chair the National Committee, I think the National Convention,
Yes.
even though he was there, I think very easily could have been construed as a constructive resignation. But who cared? He wasn't rerunning. We were electing a new chair
he was
anyway.
done anyway.
Right. But
Yeah.
things like that. If an official refuses to do their duties, I think that is a constructive resignation, even if they don't officially resign. And I don't think the board has to go through all the rigmarole of removing them. I think you remove them for malfeasance.
But at the same time, by them following Roberts and going through those motions, they also cover themselves.
They
so
do.
There's no
but
issues.
they do. But I do think there is such a thing as I don't think Nick is off base in the concept. I think he's off base in where he applied it in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But the precedent's been set. So I hope they appeal.
Yeah.
Even though I don't want to read Vermin's opinion, which, maybe I will print it out and use it to wipe my ass with, like I did the last one. But, I do need more toilet paper.
How did you get toilet paper into your printer?
No, it was just regular paper.
That had
It was,
to hurt.
well,
That had to be
listen,
abrasive.
that whole opinion was abrasive, so it might as well scratch my ass.
Oh, yeah, it was, but...
So, but I hope they appeal. Hopefully this JC will give a better opinion for Delaware than it did for me. I don't... I'm kind of being very cautious on what I say about the JC as well, because I don't want them, in being angry at things I've said, knowing that I'm on a certain side in Delaware, to punish Delaware. I'm trying to be so cautious that my words don't hurt Delaware while still being truthful. Because right now...
The problem I have with the JC appeal for Delaware is what exactly would they be appealing? And that's not...
No, constructive disaffiliation.
That's not a criticism. It's a genuine, I don't understand.
No, constructive disaffiliation.
But
the LNC has officially recognized McVeigh, but by not recognizing
omission.
Hines.
By omission.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why it's constructive. By refusing to recognize Hines, they have de facto recognized McVeigh. It's the McVeigh-controlled website that is up on the...
So logically speaking, they by default they suspended the legitimate affiliate
Yes.
and placed it. Okay, that I understand. So that makes
Same thing
that makes sense to me. I
that
just hope
was
the-
the
I just hope
argument in Oregon.
I hope the Hines folks understand that.
Oh, no, they understand it.
Okay.
They understand it. Oh, is he moving to Alabama?
He's been doing ballot access down there.
Oh, has he?
Yes, he has.
Paddle faster, I hear banjos. That's my Alabama joke. I hope Alabama people aren't offended. I love Alabama, actually.
Come on.
Oh, you put that, click?
I did.
He doesn't know how to work my button.
Oh wait, I'm using the scroll wheel. That's why. There we go.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
There we go. I was hitting the wrong button.
That's always bad.
Yes, it is.
That could be painful.
That could be painful. Especially if you're hitting the button with
Okay. No, we'll stop now.
with an enhanced implement.
Justin, send me that. Send me that evidence, hon, if you got it. Because I'm looking into Massachusetts.
Yeah, there's been rumors of that flying around too.
And by the way,
That's the next one. That's the next target on the
I'm
on the
reading
list.
the Democratic Rules of Order now. What a piece of crap book. Not for small things.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
You're talking something else, not what I was thinking.
Yeah, no. The Democratic Rules of Order to
Has
run a
nothing to do-
political party.
It has nothing to do with the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no.
I started to go on
Francis and Francis.
I started to go on the wrong path there.
It is no book to, because let me tell you about the appeal of a ruling of the chair. For one thing, members in Massachusetts were incorrectly told they were not allowed to appeal the ruling of the chair under Francis and Francis. That is absolutely incorrect. You are allowed to. I gave the page numbers, I think it was 32 through 33 on my thing. But here's how it sucks. Check this out. So the chair makes a ruling, and someone says, you don't use the word appeal. You put, I would like a vote on this ruling of the chair. Then the chair gets to speak, and the member making the appeal gets to speak, and no one else gets to speak.
So it's not a full debate.
It's
just
not a full debate. The members' rights are screwed under Francis and Francis. Okay. So, constructive disaffiliation is effectively what happened at this LNC meeting. So this whole not interfering with the autonomy of affiliate is what I wanted to get back to. So in Oregon, you had two groups, neither of whom had clean claims.
Mm-hmm.
In Delaware, you undisputably had a group that was cleanly elected at convention.
The Heinz Group, yes.
The Heinz Group. And there's something in law called a rebuttable presumption. So, for instance, you have a rebuttable presumption of innocence. It can be rebutted. The prosecutor can prove you guilty, but your presumption walking into court is that you are innocent. Mm-hmm. The LNC, by any logical means, should have.
That's your first error.
My second error would be ethical. Okay, when there is a dispute, whoever was elected at convention should be the presumptive board. It should have a very high bar, just like in criminal cases, to prove you're guilty, to rebut that. So what they did instead is they chose the Heinz legitimate board and the McVeigh usurpers as equal standing, like they both had an equally legitimate claim. And that is never how it should work. No. Whoever was elected at convention should be the presumptive board, and the burden of proof, beyond a shadow of a doubt, should be of the people challenging who the delegates elected.
And at a very minimal, it's because they got there first.
Yes, and thank you, Dave Davis, for the super chat. I so appreciate it. I got the sticker shock on my restream bill. Okay, so that's not interfering. So what this meeting should have been, if McVeigh requested it. See, Heinz should never have had to have proven anything. Anybody coming in after a convention and saying that chair has been removed, or this half of the board has been removed, in order to be officially recognized, should have to prove that if the removed people say that's not true. Mm-hmm. You know, if the removed people say, yeah, they removed me, then fine, everything's hunky-dory. But that isn't what happened here. But instead, the LNC unethically, illegitimately, and immorally gave a usurper equal standing with people elected by the delegates. And let Silver, just let McVeigh go off, with his, because he is a silver-tongued devil, and just explain away everything. And that was such a miscarriage of justice. And let me tell you where else. I put, in the beginning, Delaware was not the LNC's fault. No. Like New Hampshire was the LNC chair's fault. But you notice the LNC still has never officially repudiated what the chair has done. Mm-hmm. They have never censured Joe Bishop Henchman. They removed me, but they haven't even censored Joe Bishop.
And I'll tell you exactly why they won't. Because the minute they do anything like that, it proves your point and undermines everything they did to try to remove you.
But where's the censure? Where is at least the censure of Joe Bishop Henchman? To me, he should have been reported criminally for deleting the party emails. Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole different discussion about IT security within the National Party, but we're not going to go into that.
They fixed that, I think.
We hope.
But there's been no censure of him. There's been no censure of the former chair for saying "eat a dick" on a microphone in front of national media at the National Convention. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the hypocrisy is really, really rich here. There's no censure of Joe Bishop Henchman for threatening to sue me and Joshua Smith merely for asking questions. Though they jumped all over my ass merely for saying that I was getting an attorney to learn my rights, said that I was threatening to sue the party, and I never did. Meanwhile, Henchman directly threatened to sue. Not a word. Not a word. It is ridiculous.
Your fan club is here.
Wait, bring the popcorn.
I'm eating more sausage. It's so filthy. It's delicious, though, man. You really burnt this up. I like it. It's like dry.
I made it for you last night. You didn't eat any of it.
Well, this is how I like it. Nice and just...
I know.
Mm-hmm. You know how I like it, baby.
That's what she said.
So, crazy, crazy, crazy. 1 second. Let me swallow.
That's what she said.
Hold on.
That's what she said too.
Oh my goodness. So
Yes, we're seeping the innuendos of the cult into the pink flame of liberty. But you know what? That's what makes it entertaining.
So they granted a usurper equal grounds with the legitimate board and made the legitimate board prove they were innocent rather than the usurpers prove their case. And in their absolute inaction, they have de facto recognized the usurper board. And McVeigh recognizes it as that because, we got to remove that.
Yeah.
Because what he did afterwards, immediately after the meeting, is said, Pond, what's it?
He was gloating.
Something in seethe.
Something like that.
Yeah, something in seethe. Like he was just
Yeah.
basically saying, gotcha. And the LNC did that. The LNC now did that. So now, even though the LNC was not directly responsible for Delaware in the beginning, they are now directly responsible. But it goes beyond that.
It's part because they just didn't right the wrong.
They didn't write.
When they could have.
Right. Wrong. Yeah, right. Who's on first? The right thing to do would have been to simply recognize who was elected at convention and say to Mr. McVeigh, you believe you have a competing claim. Prove it.
Yeah.
And
All they
they
had to do
never
was
did
take
that.
one of those letters that Mr. Henchman sent over to Gilletta and send that to Mr. Hines.
Exactly.
Problem solved.
And then they had a second chance. The second chance would have been if they, for some reason, legitimately believed that Will McVeigh had a legitimate claim, they can then have looked at the very disgusting actions he did by expelling thousands of members of the party out and just all of his draconian measures and said, the state of Delaware is so offensive to us, we have to disaffiliate. So they had two chances and they blew both of them.
And why normally and as I said this also at the time when the meeting was going on, I said I don't normally favor that nuclear option, but in this case it's necessary.
Yeah, if they weren't going to do the right thing, they had to do the second best right thing.
Yeah.
And they did neither. They did I didn't think they could make the situation worse. I thought they would stumble into a somewhat acceptable solution.
And they were starting to go that way.
They were. But the LNC surprised me. They actually did worse than I thought they would. And my expectations were already really low. And they did worse. They did worse than I thought. Incompetent. Absolutely, utterly incompetent. And to be honest with you,
there is a way they could have done worse. They could have voted to disaffiliate and then turn around and acknowledge the McVeigh.
well, they would need a petition.
Yeah.
So, and if
they would come up with some crazy argument now. Well, the petition transferred over to the McVeigh group when they took over, or some sort of bullshit like that.
Yeah,
But,
I see. I don't think that was even in the realm of possibility. I think they did the worst that they possibly
I
could.
wouldn't put that past them to think though if they ever thought that far out.
So here's the real. But let's say the quiet part out loud. There are multiple members of the LNC, and I would say probably the majority, not a super majority, but barely a majority, who approve of what McVeigh did. Who just absolutely approve. And they're cloaking it behind the, we don't want to get involved in the autonomy of the affiliate. Can I prove this because they like accusing me of slander when apparently now opinion is slander? No, I can't prove it. But I certainly have a reasonable reason to believe that. Why? Well, how about the fact that the current national chair said, I don't see a reason to disaffiliate New Hampshire, but I can't bring myself to vote no. It shows the very clear anti-Mises bias on the LNC. And it is clearly a slight majority of the LNC is openly anti-Mises, and they approve of what McVeigh did, and they, I believe, this is my opinion, want to encourage this happening in other states. This is sheer opinion. Don't come for me. You'll come for me anyway, but don't come for me. And you need to cut that shit out, because you can pick on small states like that, but I'll say it right now, try that shit with Colorado.
Ain't gonna fly.
Or any other big state. It's easy to pick on a state you have 2 delegates. Why don't you try picking on someone, that's a little bit bigger, that can fight back.
And we can fight back here.
And some other larger states, like, pick on, I'm not inviting them to pick on Florida, but I mean, big states.
I'm not inviting to pick on anybody.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Pick on one of the top 10 states, you're so badasses. You're picking on Delaware. It's like, come on, it's absolutely ridiculous, but I blame them for even more than that. This coup happened on October 3rd. The LNC had a meeting scheduled for October that they canceled. Now, that one, okay, because they canceled it prior to October 3rd because they have to do it with 7 days. So, okay.
But on the other hand, the whole Delaware thing started when?
October 3rd.
August. That
No.
was when their state convention was.
No, but they didn't know anything about this coup. No. October 3rd is the day. October 3rd is the day. So, and their convention was in June.
June. Okay.
Okay, but they could have called a special meeting to deal with it. But let's say they didn't realize yet the extent.
Okay.
Over the course of October, they knew the extent. And what did they do when it came time for the November meeting? We can't think of anything to put on the agenda, so we're going to cancel the meeting. And not only are we going to cancel the November meeting, we're canceling all of the monthly meetings.
And we still haven't addressed the unfinished business from the September meeting when they suspended her.
Correct. And what was the unfinished business?
I don't even remember.
I
anymore.
remember.
Oh, I know you
Oh,
do.
Prepperidge
Prepperidge
Farm remembers. It was dealing with a policy for the secret email lists that they keep abusing and contingency plans for the convention
If
in case
COVID.
COVID restrictions come back into play. And they don't want to touch those two things with a 10-foot pole.
And they still haven't on the
And
ladder.
they still haven't. They haven't said a word about either. Kind of the secret list where they think reporting that they were abusing the secret list is enough. Okay?
Yeah.
Whatever. They at least, but there's no policy. There's no official policy yet. So we don't have anything to address in November. Hello, Delaware. The fact that they canceled that November meeting and let Will continue to
run
build
roughshod.
his story and run roughshod over those members. It's all at the LNC's feet now. It is now McVeigh. He has, yeah, I know. I'm so non-confrontational. He has obviously his own fault, but the LNC now is a co-conspirator, as far as I'm concerned, with Will McVeigh and taking over the Delaware Party. They aided and abetted it, and it is absolutely disgusting. Now, it's not the entire LNC. There are Dustin Nana is a good player. I don't want to forget anyone, so I don't like naming, but let's try naming the good ones. Dustin Nana, Pat Ford, Rich Bowen, Stephen Nikala, Susan Hogarth,
In this case, yes.
Otto Dassinger.
Yes. Who is relatively new, but is doing well.
He's doing excellent.
Rise up.
Eric Rodsep.
Yes.
Ken Molman.
Yes. How would you rate Alex Flores in this?
Alex hasn't said much, but I think he would be on the right side, but I don't want to. I haven't heard from him
That's
on
fair.
this.
That's fair.
He's in the neutral category.
Okay. The disclaimer, he's our regional alternate.
Yeah,
so,
and I think he would be on. Wait a minute. No, he did end up voting. He ended up voting, and that's when Whitney got that look like we just ran over her dog because
That's right, 'cause
Chris Lucchini stepped out of the room, and Alex. Nope, we'll put Alex on the good guys.
Because Lucchini
9.
stepped out and explicitly handed off that vote to Alex the way they're supposed to do it per custom of the LNC.
Right.
By the way, the custom that was not followed with Mr. Sexton and Mr. McHale.
Right.
Which, according to Roberts, is what you default to in the absence of anything explicit. So because the custom wasn't followed, Sexton really wasn't properly substituted in, which means his vote was invalid. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. The suspension's invalid. Okay.
You're invalid. You're all invalid. So 9. Who else?
Okay, Oprah.
Is that it?
I think
don't
so.
want to. Are we forgetting any alternates? I don't think we are because we mentioned Pat Ford.
I don't think so.
So 9 LNC members are good.
Out of the 17 plus alternates, yeah. Which
Yeah. Well,
is-
So it's because we counted alternates here too. We counted
Right.
2 alternates. So 7 regular LNC members.
Right.
And that means 9 regular LNC members aren't.
Right.
That's why I said barely a majority.
Yeah.
So it's close. Those 9 and whatever alternates agree with them, which is a bunch of them, are complicit. They're absolutely complicit in Delaware. And no affiliate should feel safe with any of them in power.
Right.
Sorry.
By the way,
Sorry, not
describe
sorry. But the ones I named, particularly Pat Ford, are the GOAT. Joshua Smith, we forgot Joshua.
Yes, we did forget Joshua Smith.
Sorry about that.
Our apologies, Josh.
I'm so sorry. I do that all the time too because I keep forgetting how many at-larges we have. So they have barely a majority, but they still do have an anti-Mises majority.
And yes, you accidentally whacked me. No initiation of force there.
Well, it's because you liked it. But speaking of Joshua,
I guess I do it a little bit too.
speaking of Joshua,
But that was off camera.
I don't know. Lydia's now going to get mad.
Oh, she don't care.
Speaking of Joshua,
She's already said if you need to smack me, smack me. That's my wife, folks, so we're good.
Speaking of Joshua, I want to show where Joshua was the GOAT at this meeting. This is really short. That's what she said. But we're going to play it.
It's cause. We've added 4 cause.
Which the JC has ruled out in the Karen Ann Harlow's case that it can be anything the LNC decides it is. So
I'm going to pick my teeth with my fingernail while I contemplate how we just got pushed into a corner.
Joshua, I mean, he get the zinger. Because basically, yeah, affiliates should be scared because the JC ruling basically said cause is anything the LNC says it is, as long as it isn't completely ridiculously not what the policy manual means.
Yeah, as long as it's not fundamentally absurd.
Yeah. And half of the evidence against me, more than half of it, was fundamentally absurd. So basically, even something fundamentally absurd, like we think Will McVeigh is more handsome than Bill Hines. You know, that could be a reason. You know, according to the LNC. I mean, it's not clearly. Well, I think it's clearly erroneous. I don't want to be stepping on any toes. Let's go. I don't want to be like. Now Bill's going to be all embarrassed, going, "Oh my God, she's hot for me" or something.
No.
I'm happily married. I'm happily married. But I'm just saying.
There are no pink crushes here.
I'm just saying, in general.
Yeah.
Let's do something more like somebody blinks more than Joe DePasquale, but that's the entire planet.
I was going to say, has he been engaged in staring contests with an aquarium somewhere?
Dude, it scares me. And when somebody said they kept expecting a lizard tongue to come out and lick his eyeball.
We were looking at us going, does he ever blink? Once, maybe.
He blinked once in 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's not normal.
Was he even here is the question, or was he zoned out?
That is not normal. I'm sorry. Do not.
Was he a member of the zombie apocalypse? We don't know.
Man. Oh my God.
Then again, if he was backing up McVeigh, that might be true.
So, as of the beginning of November, the LNC is completely complicit. Completely and absolutely complicit.
Which means come May, we need to take the evil 11 and chuck them on their ears.
It's unconscionable.
Can I go into a conspiracy theory for a moment?
As long as you make it clear it's yours, unless I endorse it.
I'm claiming it's mine. They're silent about the contingency plans for Reno because they don't want to have contingency plans for Reno because if they're forced to go into a mode where everybody has to have their jab to show up, then that limits attendance and benefits them for getting reelected.
Oh, I've been open about that.
Yeah.
I've been open that's the thing.
I myself have not purchased anything for Reno yet because I'm waiting for them to figure out what the hell they're going to do.
No, I'm
nothing personal against you because it's not. It's just that it makes no sense for me to shell out the money and the time to go there if I can't do anything when I'm there because I am not vaccinated, and if I have anything to say about it, I won't be.
I'm not vaccinated.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, baby, let's get COVID together. But the point of it is that maybe they are doing this on purpose, just as a tactical means because of what happened last time around with COVID.
Who knows? And they can't blame people for suspecting this. Like, you can't be crying slander and harassment and all the other things you use to avoid political criticism when you will not address the subject.
Right.
And canceling all the monthly meetings and canceling November, but more specifically about Delaware, you had nothing to talk about? What? That is that's bat guano crazy.
And that is something that should be brought up at Boston, is that, well, not that there was nothing to discuss, although you can point that out, but you can say, look, you still have unfinished business from September you haven't done yet. Yeah. And the membership, we want to know what your contingency plans for Reno are if they go needle freak on us.
Yeah, I that's why I brought it up, but it still hasn't been addressed.
Right.
But
the point of it is, when they need to have their feet held to the fire again.
The way New Hampshire was handled, and New Hampshire, I think everyone is really, after they see now what happened with Delaware, I think everyone now really knows that if I hadn't done those interviews right in the beginning, things would look very different in New Hampshire right now.
Because
there's no one who can deny that now. I know Aaron Adams kept saying, we all agree. No, it was, or Susan. It was one of those
they're
two.
claiming you interfered with the situation. And
Yeah,
it was
I interfered
a
by
grounds for a suspension. Bullshit.
Yeah.
It was you doing your job.
And Susan kept saying, nobody disagreed with you. We all agreed it was wrong and that. No, I could give you screenshots of John Phillips saying the exact same stupid shit he said in this meeting where we should have just let them handle it. And letting them handle it would mean since Gilletta had control of the website, they would have been de facto just like Will McVeigh.
Correct me on something. I seem to recall that when that all went down, you were in Florida at their convention. And didn't someone pull you out of that convention to say, we need to talk to you about this?
Yes.
And that's what started the whole thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Mike Heiss came to me and said, did you see what was just posted on the New Hampshire website? I said, no, let me see. And then I was like, and then I passed my phone over to Stephen Nikala, who went, and then we were like, I whispered to Stephen, I go, things are going really calm in here. I don't think you really need me, you know, because I was parliamentarian.
Right.
I go, can I step out for a minute? And I did. And you want to know what happened the minute I stepped out? All hell broke loose on the convention floor. And they came running out to get me.
Of course. Of course. The parliamentary steps away and everybody goes cuckoo.
Yeah, I mean, and then later that night, people forget, I was not the only LNC member that did those interviews. I was there. Eric Radsip was there. Stephen Nikala was there. And I think there was one other LNC member there. Was it Ken Mulman? Ken Mulman was there.
Yeah, okay.
Us four conducted them, but I'm the only one who gets the blame. Not that I want those guys to get in trouble. No. I'm just saying. It's so obvious now that what happened with New Hampshire.
But at the same time, because they were also in on doing the interviews to expose the whole problem, they should also get credit for helping to expose the problem too.
Yes.
Not blame, credit.
Yes, but they weren't quite as aggressive about it as me, but that's just the nature of the beast, whatever. But we all see now what happened with Delaware. There is no way you are not going to tell me, like Susan tried to tell me, that New Hampshire would have worked out just fine, even if I hadn't done anything.
Wrong.
No, it would not have.
Because
we saw that in the meeting that night, where even Whitney said, we can't do anything.
And the investigative committee in New Hampshire came to the exact same conclusions that Karen Ann arrived at a month and a half earlier on a separate independent investigation.
And,
So by that time, it would have been too damn late to do anything.
And you want to know something else? I got right on investigating Delaware, too. And this really hasn't been brought out because I didn't get agreements for Zoom interviews on these. But I probably could have, but I wasn't on the LNC. And to be honest with you, I was kind of gun-shy about the whole thing after already getting, over New Hampshire. I got on the phone with all of the players. And very similar to New Hampshire, I knew Will McVeigh and was much better friends with Will McVeigh than any of the other people. Just like I knew Gilletta Jarvis better than any of their people. Now, I did know Amy. I knew Amy fairly well. I didn't know Bill Hines hardly at all.
Amy Lepore?
Amy Lepure, yeah.
Okay.
So I got on the phone right away with everybody and got their stories. Now, Will McVeigh has been massaging his story ever since then.
You've been massaging it like crazy.
Yeah. he would have changed it if he didn't get on shows and talk with people. And I figured out right away he did not follow procedure. So this is part of what was so frustrating about the LNC meeting, is you had people like the Region 4 alternate who kept saying what he did was shady, but he followed the rules.
He did not.
He didn't. And no one challenged that at that meeting. No one challenged that. I did a whole 3-hour thing on how he did not even follow his own bylaws. But you want to know what Will has done because the LNC didn't take care of this right away? Though you'll agree, I'm sure, I hope at least you'll agree that this was illegitimate. An illegitimate board cannot ratify the action that made it a board to begin with, because they were illegitimate from the beginning. But this is what McVeigh tried to do. So he tried to call another board meeting, because he now recognizes they didn't follow the rules at the first one, and his illegitimate board ratified his illegitimate actions. Yeah, okay, but it's those kinds of games that confuse people that don't know much about parliamentary procedure.
Or organization, or the structure of organizations. Yeah.
So it makes it seem like they're doing everything by the book, by people who don't know enough about what's going on. And the LNC absolutely abated that. So again, not only could the LNC not call out the bad behavior of Will McVeigh for all the things he did, they aided and abetted in theft of $10,000 worth of money belong to Delaware. And you want to know what theft is, LNC? That is actually a violation of the non-aggression principle.
Mm-hmm. And that is pure for cause by definition.
It is so disgusting what happened at that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the simple argument is if they were engaging in that type of a theft, that is so obviously for cause for disaffiliation of the affiliate. And if it would happen on the LNC or a state party, that would be grounds to suspend the member immediately. That you have to do so. You can't not do something about it. And at the same time, something like that, you need to be talking to the DA about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But
$10,000 is a felony. Somebody should be going to jail.
So
I know the anarchist folks are not going to like me saying that, but let's face it.
there would be some kind of
there
jail.
has to be justice here somehow.
Oh, no, I don't think the anarchists... I mean, right now, that's the system we have to operate under because
Correct.
the police have monopolized... the government has monopolized...
Right. Well, there needs to be some justice and making whole the situation.
Yeah. But the
attached to it.
LNC aided and abetted in, I think, $10,000, I think, is the threshold for grand larceny. I don't know what it is in Delaware. I think it is in Florida.
It's probably the same. That's pretty common across the country.
Right. So the LNC aided and abetted in grand larceny. Yet my mean words violated the membership pledge. The LNC in its votes violated the non-aggression principle.
But embezzlement and theft doesn't.
And all of you people who did not vote to make Delaware right, you need to resign.
Yes, Ryan, restitution. That's the word I was looking for.
It's
Thank you.
ridiculous that they are getting away with this. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And oh no! And here's what's even funnier. We're going to just mention the JC decision just for 1 second here. Because I don't know who said this. I think it was Dr. Moulton who said this. And this is just crazy. Where he accused me of using information I gained during my representation on the LNC to monetize a channel. Yet here I am monetizing a channel using the exact same information because it's public.
Actually,
it's not secret.
That was actually Mattson.
No, she said she agreed with him, but I believe Chuck said that.
They both did, but Mattson took it a little to a different level.
There was nothing I said that was private. Even when I said the LNC was abusing the secret email list, did I ever release those secret emails?
No.
Nope. Never did.
And trust me, I'm an expert on leaks from the secret list because they were doing that back in 08 and 09.
I never, ever did.
And I know who those leaks were, and I've never revealed them.
Anything I've talked about on this channel is public, as evidenced by the fact that I'm still talking about it and still monetizing it. So it had absolutely nothing to do with my position. It had to do with me just paying attention.
And saying something.
Yeah. So, that is...
If you see something, say something. She did.
and I paid the price.
Yeah.
I gotta finish the sausage. Sorry, it's big.
That's what she said.
So I ranted for a while. If there's anything you want to add...
I was almost ready to ask you to borrow one of those for a second to do a Groucho Marx imitation of
they're all
a
gone
cigar,
now.
but never mind.
But while I'm eating, if you have any ranting to add here...
Well, the thing of it is, and I know I'm kind of off camera a little, but that's just the way I'm sitting. I'm trying to be respectful of Carrie Ann's space.
Invade me, baby.
Okay, as you insist.
Somebody better screenshot that.
Well, remember we got the screenshot from the original from the initial episode, the pilot, so to speak, when I'm fake strangling you. But I saw that on my phone actually. But the thing of it is this, and this is what it comes down to, is at least for me, the National Committee needs to understand that they don't have a pure understanding of what makes a good structure of an organization, both from an operational perspective and from an ethical perspective. I've argued for a while now that they need to have somebody in as an HR and an organizational structure specialist to set them straight on these things, just to get their shit together to become a more of a professional organization. And I work in aerospace. We have this stuff coming out of our asses on a regular basis.
Oh, Shannon asked. You got to show her.
I'll show you this. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put this up on the screen so people don't think you're just being weird.
No, I'm not being weird. Let me slide over here. See?
Yes, he does.
Pardon my fat belly, but anyway.
Oh, yes, he does. Hold on. Here we go.
And yes, Shannon. And yes, Shannon, also, just for the sake of the argument, see? I got the socks, I got the shoes, and I got the shoelaces. So. Anyway.
I'm just so offended and appalled by what they allowed in Delaware, yet they removed me.
Yeah, getting back to it though. I work in aerospace. We have this stuff coming out of our asses because we have to, because of all the regulations attached to export of various items, ITAR and crap like that. There's regs from the State Department, the DOD, Department of Energy.
The alphabet soup.
There's probably some people we don't know about in there. We have to have professionals in our organizations to keep track of all this stuff and help us get through all of it so we don't screw something up. Why don't we have something like that on the LNC? And even state parties could benefit from this a little bit, to be fair. So why don't they do that? Because they don't want to do it. If they want to play with the big boys, they need to.
Yeah, it's such a mess right now. It unbelievable. Now,
it is.
On the agenda for the Massachusetts meeting, and I will be at the Massachusetts meeting, and I know some people are expecting me to go there and like breathe fire during public comment. I have no intention of doing that. There's nobody who's ever watched my behavior at a meeting who cannot say that I always, with rare exception, I did lose my cool 2 times during my suspension hearing, but I think that is somewhat understandable, and I apologize.
At that point, you had nothing to lose.
And I did apologize both times because I actually said shit, and I apologized for shit.
I mean, hell, I went off on it more than you did.
But I won't, because I don't do that at meetings. I never have. Never. That was none of their accusations against me. It was all in my personal life, and stay out of my personal life.
I did as a member, but I've also had the reputation that when I say something at these meetings, they better fucking listen, because I'm about to go off on somebody for a good reason.
Yeah, so
I want them to say, "Oh shit, Seebeck's here."
So if people are expecting fireworks, that's not going to happen. I might do some live coverage of the meeting and go in another room, not in the meeting room, and give my live commentary, which might be a little spicy, but never in the meeting room. That's just not what I do. For the same reason, even in Zoom meetings, you always saw me in a suit. Like some people wore T-shirts and looked all sloppy, never me.
Nothing new on the list, just checking.
So if you're expecting that, you're not going to get that. So I don't know if there's any questions as to what went on with Delaware. I more wanted to talk about. Well, I wanted to focus on, but I want to talk about whatever anyone else wants to talk about. But I wanted to focus on now the LNC's complicity and how it's almost to the point where no matter what good they think they can possibly do in this lame duck 6 months, it's just so absolutely ruined by what they've done and failed to do so far. Now, Susan has a motion for Delaware at this meeting. I don't know what the motion is. Whatever it is...
Because she hasn't said what it is.
No, I don't even know if she knows what it is. And I'm not saying that to be insulting. I think maybe they're still planning. Maybe she's still working with Delaware. I don't know.
Figure it out, yeah.
But here's the problem. Now that the LNC has set the precedent that these two competitors, whatever you want to call them, have equal standing.
Rivals.
If they turn around and then recognize Bill Hines, now McVeigh has a cause for constructive disaffiliation.
Right.
And this endangers their delegates because it's constructive disaffiliation after the disaffiliation deadline. The disaffiliation deadline was yesterday. They are just screwing this pooch raw.
Which means the only solution for that is on the convention floor in Reno that the motion be made to not recognize any Delaware delegates. Period.
But that's punishing them.
It may be punishing them, but it also may be a necessary step to put an end to the controversy one way or the other.
I will never vote to
tell them to go back to the beginning and get it right.
I will never vote to not recognize the Hines delegates, ever.
Well, I understand that, but the question is that if the delegation expiration date was yesterday.
No, the disaffiliation.
Disaffiliation.
The disaffiliation. Yeah.
Go into it a little better, please.
Okay.
Maybe I'm missing something.
I think you got confused because when you said that, I was like, that's so unjust.
Okay, please explain it better, please.
Okay, yeah. The LNC has the power to disaffiliate an affiliate in any time in the time period of 6 months prior to the convention.
Okay.
The 6 month prior to the convention date was yesterday.
So they can't do squat between yesterday and the convention.
And going forward.
But they can do something right after the convention.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So since they have effectively recognized McVeigh as
Right.
the affiliate,
Yeah.
they can't turn around at the December meeting and then recognize Hines because they would be disaffiliating McVeigh.
Right.
And they're not allowed to do that after yesterday.
Right. But that
That's-
also means that McVeigh is the group that can determine who are the delegates to the National Convention.
Unless Hines appeals and wins.
Right.
And he needs to. But you want to know who else can appeal? And we're not limited to just appealing the constructive disaffiliation. Members can appeal. And you want to know what?
10% of the delegates of the last National Convention.
Let me tell you something, and I know people think this is a hot take, but I think we should go through nearly every appealable decision that is sucked of the LNC for the past year and appeal the fuck out of it.
'Cause
Make
they're-
Vermin do some actual poetry.
Because there's actually no time limit on those appeals.
No, there isn't. The fact that Whitney Bilyeu is not really the legitimate chair, which I have held since the beginning, that can be appealed. And I think it should be. At the time, nobody really had the stomach to do so.
For the record, I posted a reason for that over on IPR. I walked through all the different pieces of it.
I don't even, that place is a dumpster fire. It's no good.
It is, but it's also a decent place to find some stuff of record.
Ever since Warren sold it,
Yeah.
it's been terrible. That's kind of why I do the show.
It's dropped off from its primary coverage of LP stuff and everybody else.
Well, and it's got this, like, the same 6 commenters that are all just,
Some are just freaking clueless.
you know, that's why actually I started this channel doing like the LP Insider stuff. It's kind of to make up for what IPR used to be.
Yeah.
You know, and why I like doing it live and having the comments, because I don't want it to be just my opinion, you know. So I don't go to IPR anymore, and that's a shame. But I went and looked. I saw your comment. I went and looked at that thread and said, what a dumpster fire. I'm not coming back. But I did appreciate what you said.
Technically, I'm still a contributing author there, but I haven't really contributed anything of
They sold it,
substance
though,
for
so I think
years.
they revoked all the privileges.
Maybe they did, but
Yeah, Warren sold the site. So it's a new owner now, and I'm not blaming the new owner. It's just, it's not the same. It's not the same. So whatever. That's kind of why I cover like People's Party and stuff on this channel. It is kind of like an IPR substitute in some way.
Right.
I've seen like virtually zero coverage of the People's Party at IPR, by the way. And Nick Brana was elected chair, as I knew he would be.
So in any case,
So I don't know if there's anything else anyone else wanted us to cover with Delaware, or if we wanted to, you know, just go to some random spots in the meeting to see if there's any comments that we wanted to
go
make.
for it.
So let's see if I pull up the meeting. And again, you guys, please comment, because, and if you don't have any comments, I mean, that's fine. I'm not trying to force you. But we want to interact with comments. We want to hear other opinions. We want to hear questions.
And yes, Shannon, yes, we joke about what I wear sometimes, but I will say this: we do take this stuff seriously.
Meeting tonight for the
Ken's concentrating.
Oh,
at
I don't want to
least.
do that.
Hi.
But listen, I've seen some freeze frames of me where I look shitty. So
meeting tonight for the specific purpose of hearing and discussing the matter of Libertarian Party of Delaware. The way I expect this to go is, while I would have liked for us to be able to do this as a committee of the whole, I don't think it's appropriate in this setting because I can't. Everyone's face. We don't have the benefit of body language cues to know who's going to be speaking next, and we'll wind up talking over each other. So we're going to proceed under normal circumstances procedurally for this. And
Okay, I unmuted us. I didn't realize it was muting us while this was playing. And what I had said is I actually agreed with Whitney's decision not to go into committee of the whole. And her reason was we don't have the body language to see when someone else is getting ready to speak, and they'd end up just all talking over each other, and it would be chaos. And I actually kind of agreed with her with that.
Having done committees of the whole in the past, the solution for that is you just go round robin around the room.
Then people feel like when you do that, somebody who wouldn't have raised their hand, but you get to them, they feel like they have to say something even if it's stupid. Like, I agree with her. You and I disagree on some things. So
I've done this in California, and it worked well because it made sure everybody had a voice in what the process was. And they appreciated that.
In this matter,
nobody was getting shut out.
Yeah, in this one, I agree. I happen to agree with her on this, and I don't agree with Whitney.
Speaking stick, it's actually a conch from what I heard.
Okay, let's just gonna
Doc Sexy, if you know what I'm referring to.
We're gonna go to some random spots here.
To vote at convention. That list has been narrowed down to 20. Three of whom are minor.
Yeah, I want
to. Have you challenged their ability to control those assets in any way?
That I'm trying to find where they get into debate. Not really Amy or Bill speaking. Those documents are up on LPedia. Their arguments. I want to do more with the LNC.
Any more purpose, and I would
items that by itself constitutes proper notice.
Okay. Did you believe that a post purposely hidden from the board members who need to be notified constitutes official notice of bylaw change?
The Article 9 requirement for notifications doesn't say how many people have to see it. I saw it. I was able to scroll down through the feed and find it. Several other members of the board were. I don't know why Mr. Hines wasn't, but as I mentioned
Steven.
before, his attention to detail has been called into question.
Steven smells bullshit.
Okay. The notice he's talking about was what?
Okay, this is the original notice of bylaws amendment that they had a member, not a board member, a member post where it said bylaws amendment ? So it's not, doesn't even say notice.
Yeah.
It put in about expelling board members.
And this was where?
On the group, the Delaware Facebook group.
Okay.
Which is allowed to be, you're allowed to post notice there according to their bylaws. But notices of bylaws amendment has to be posted by the body that can amend them, not by any random member, and not by bylaws amendment ? Where it doesn't even say notice anywhere. Then comments were turned off to bury it. Then Will McVeigh goes, time for a meme dump, so it dumps it back like 10 pages. So Will's saying, yeah, we gave notice. It's not required that anyone sees the notice, which is why I did my joke and said, I gave notice, but it was in Dothraki. Nowhere does it say it has to be in English, because that's his logic. It could have been in Swahili, and as far as he's concerned, it was notice, because the bylaws don't say it has to be in English. It is absolutely ridiculous.
So in other words, by their argument, they could put it on a Facebook feed, they could translate into Pig Latin and then Morse code and put it up there, and that would be notice.
And let's put Richard Brown's comment up here because I absolutely disagree, and our precedent disagrees with you on this, Richard, but let's deal with this. Richard says, I don't agree when the LNC failed to recognize the Hines group that it amounted to recognizing the McVeigh group. It was simply a refusal at the time to recognize either group. When you don't recognize the actual board, you have disaffiliated the actual board. That is, in fact, what they did. And we have precedent for this from our Judicial Committee in 2011 when the LNC did that kind of chosen thing. Because it wasn't simply a refusal to recognize either board, because the website that is with the donation links and everything that is on the lp.org site as the Libertarian Party of Delaware is in fact McVeigh's site. So on the lp.org site, LP is giving official recognition and asking members of the public to donate money to that group. Sorry, Richard, you are dead dead wrong here.
If they wanted to refuse to recognize either group, then they would have simply said, we don't recognize either group.
They would have made a motion. They would have disaffiliated is what they would have done.
Right.
We have to have an affiliate. You can't, like, that was the wrong way to put it. If we're going to have an affiliate, you have to recognize who the affiliate is. And they failed to recognize either one, according to what you said, but I think they default recognize McVeigh because he's the one who's listed on everything, and he's the one who's still listed on the LP.org website. He's the one who is still getting, like, the state chair's notices. He's the one who got the notice of delegate allocations from Tim Hagan. He is de facto the recognized chair of the LP of Delaware.
By the LNC.
By not refusing who was elected at convention, failing to recognize them is constructive disaffiliating, according to who? Nick Sarwark on the Judicial Committee from 2011.
In the Oregon case. Yeah.
In the Oregon case. So I'm ready.
No, above that. We have a super chat.
Oh yeah. I don't always put those. Okay. Because I don't. I usually thank them, but I don't have the practice of always putting them on screen because I feel like it's pay to play, and I just for some reason But I do want to thank Stephen Ecker. I do want to put this up just because it's an interesting comment. Nikayla's unmistakable body language during much of McVeigh's testimony. Absolutely. He just looked like he was smelling shit and didn't like it.
He was like, "You got to be kidding me."
Well, to be honest, Whitney also looked like she was smelling shit and didn't like it either. But
that could have been her own.
Two different matters, But Richard, I just fundamentally disagree with you on this, with all due respect. I'm a little worked up now, so I realize that I might have been a little bit disrespectful, and I certainly did not intend it that way.
If neither group was recognized in the first place, I would agree with you. But because one was and one wasn't by action rather than word, then that changes.
No, I don't think the JC always gets it right, but I do think the JC is the precedent.
Yeah.
Whether they get it right or not is another matter. I actually don't think the JC got it right in the Oregon case. I think the JC was absolutely wrong in saying that whoever the Secretary of State recognizes is the affiliate. I think the JC was absolutely wrong in that. But the fact is, that is our precedent. What people keep getting wrong sometimes in some of the things I'm saying, like I called out Vermin Supreme the other day for posting something that seemed to be advocating violence. And it was satire.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and it was satire. And people are going, oh, so now you're taking satire seriously? I'm like, no, I'm holding them to their own standards. They don't recognize things in context. So I'm holding them to their standard. And Richard, on this, you saying neither group has been recognized, fundamentally disagree. When the guy who's in control of the website in which we are soliciting fraudulent monies from people is listed on LP.org, they have been recognized. If I were a donor and found that out afterwards, I think the LNC is opening itself up to legal liability.
It may not be in a motion per se, but there's other pieces to it than just the motion. And as far and with the JAC, the reason they went to the Secretary of State recognition in Oregon is because that was the only thing they could work off of, because everything else was a wash. Everything else, there was no clear grounds for either case.
I think
that was the only positive point for one side.
Well, I think the JC should have said neither group is valid.
Yeah.
I don't think they should have went to the Secretary of State. I think they should have said.
I agree with you, and I remember reading at the time, but that's what they went with because it's what
they
had.
Now, people may ask, why did I eventually side with the Wagner Group, even though I think that the LNC should have disaffiliated them, and I think both sides were wrong? Because when the poll went out to all of the Oregon libertarians, they supported the Wagner Group. So that's why I supported the Wagner Groups, because the Oregon libertarians had spoken.
And they spoke by a margin
of like 75%.
I think it was close to 80, but it was way the hell up there.
It was way up there.
It wasn't even close.
So that is why I fell behind the Wagner Group. Not because I thought that the JC had the decision right, but I do think what the JC had right is the idea of constructive disaffiliation. Absolutely. I do think they had that right. I don't think they came to the right decision on recognizing one group over the other. I think they should have recognized the constructive disaffiliation and ruled that neither group had grounds, and that the LNC, if they could, they might not have even have been able to rule this way. In an ideal world, neither group would have been recognized. They would have had, like they had in Arizona, where they sent out that ballot to all of the Arizona national members and asked them.
That was like in the late 90s, early
Yeah,
2000s.
yeah. But that
was right before I came into the party, yeah.
I absolutely disagree. McVeigh has been recognized. McVeigh considers himself to have recognized. Amy Lepore and Bill Hines think McVeigh has been recognized. So for something that's so clearly not clear, everyone in the party seems to think McVeigh, at least everyone in the party has an interest in this, seems to think McVeigh has been recognized. And he is still the person listed, in control of the website that is listed soliciting campaign monies and donations on lp.org.
Which is why I say there's more to it than just the motion. Because if none of that was going on and neither group had possession of those assets, then you could make the argument neither one has been recognized. But because one does, that's part beyond what the motion was. It says, yes, they're saying this is the group.
And here's the fact. If neither group has been recognized, then both of them have been constructively disaffiliated, and both of them have appeal rights. And we don't know whose delegates are what now.
And the control of those assets would be in limbo.
Yeah, they should be placed in escrow.
Right.
They should have been placed in an escrow account. The LNC does not have the option of not recognizing a board, Richard. The LNC only has two options: recognizing a board or disaffiliating. That is it. This limbo option is not something our bylaws allow us to do. Now, if we want to start talking about what our bylaws allow us to do, saying we don't recognize anyone as the chair, the bylaws don't allow the LNC to do that. Like, that's just not even an option. There are two options. The LNC recognizes an affiliate or it doesn't. It can't not recognize, just simply not recognize. That is a constructive disaffiliation then of both groups. And if that is what turns out to be the professional parliamentary opinion, then I would encourage both McVeigh and Hines to appeal and let the JC sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, Article 5 of the national bylaws is very clear. There's there
can only be one affiliate.
You can't use the name LP without being recognized by with a chart and everything for the national committee. It's only one per state. The LNC won't mess with the autonomy of the affiliate except for certain cases in the bylaws, including who they can endorse in races, which is understandable. And beyond that, they have the power to revoke affiliation.
Right.
And that's it.
Which, they can't not say we don't know who the board is, especially 6 months prior to convention, when we have to deal with who the chair is. So they've either recognized McVeigh, which I believe they have, or they have constructively disaffiliated both contenders, and they both have appeal rights, because the LNC does not have the option to let two groups simply use the word Libertarian Party and have the Libertarian Party ballot line without recognizing a board. They do not have that option.
And even if they did, then you're running into a whole different problem, because if you have two different dueling state affiliates nominating candidates for the same office, the Secretary of State or whoever runs their elections is going to come back and say, what in the hell are you doing? And throw both of them off the ballot. And we don't want that either.
Right. To me, the bigger issue is the donor issue.
And by the way, that happened in Arizona years ago.
Right, right. But I don't want to go back that far because people don't even know about that.
But my point is that it's happened before.
Yeah. But to me, the bigger issue is the potential fraud with donors being led to believe by us having that website as the official LP Delaware website and not doing anything about it. Let's say the Hines group is invalid. I don't care. For this argument, I don't care which group is invalid. You have two groups using the Libertarian Party name with our implicit permission. Donors are giving money based upon that representation. And if that representation is wrong, the LNC is aiding and abetting in fraud. I mean, You agree?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering.
No, I'm sorry, I was looking down.
Yeah, he's got the bylaws.
I got
there.
the bylaws
Yeah.
right. I got the bylaws right here in front of me in my little nice little flip phone. But I'm just my fold phone. But I was looking at over while you were talking.
I don't. And hello, Julian. I don't think we had it right. Right, Charles LaRaza has it right. I don't understand. They did recognize the Hines Group after the Delaware Convention, and now they don't, which is a constructive disaffiliation of the Hines Group unless they are conceding that McVeigh legitimately threw them out.
The Hines Group is the rightful heir to the charter of the state party.
Okay, we just Richard understands and just disagrees, and sometimes we are going to disagree. I could say precedent is on my side, but as you know, I don't always agree with precedent. Though I think Whitney misapplied the precedent in my case because
Well, she specializes in that.
Well, I agreed with the precedent. I didn't agree with the justice of it. I agreed with the precedent that was used in my case that an at-large representative is not entitled to a trial per our bylaws. Under libertarian principles, an at-large representative is in fact entitled to a trial. But that's different than a Roberts argument. That's a libertarian principles argument. So I didn't disagree.
And see, I disagree with that because I ascribe to the Roberts argument. That's a whole different situation.
Yeah, but Roberts is only about officers. At-larges do not have the same rights as officers under Roberts. So I agree with that Balch opinion that an at-large under Roberts is not entitled to a trial. However, our bylaws do not prohibit a trial, and our libertarian principles should grant everybody a trial. Now, an officer has the right under both, under Roberts and under libertarian principles. So I didn't disagree with Whitney's precedent, as it were. I disagreed with her applying it to an officer because an officer is not the same as an at-large.
But when I tried to mention that to her, she's like, "We're not going to have a discussion," and stalked off.
Right. So
I told her, "You need to have that discussion."
But no, I
you're
don't.
Doing it wrong.
I also disagreed with. There was another JC disagreement I had from the 70s. Which one was crap? I can't remember what side I came in on.
Got me on that one. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There was a platform that said that we should repudiate the national debt. That was passed at convention in the 1970s, and the JC overturned it, saying that the country entered into a contract with its debtors and that it was unlibertarian to repudiate contracts.
To which the immediate response is, "Who are the debtors?"
Right. And I disagreed with that JC decision as well.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
It's on Elpedia.
Okay, that was.
We might need to go over that. It's on Elpedia.
That could be an interesting show. Yeah.
I think it was Rothbard's platform amendment. And that, don't you remember the whole time where the JC was defanged for a while and it made it very difficult to appeal? That's because Rothbard was ass mad about his platform plank getting overturned.
I don't remember that part. No.
Yeah, it was, in order to get something to the JC became impossible. And that's when then they amended it down to like 15% of the delegates, and then it went down to 10% or something like that. I think you're mischaracterizing what happened, Richard, but we're just going to have to disagree here.
And I think you're also neglecting the fact that Roberts also recognizes custom as a factor in the equation too.
Yeah. Yeah, Oliver O'Fernay. We're going to have to do a show on that thing.
I'd like to. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, I think it was like a 1977 JC decision.
I wasn't even in kindergarten at that point. So that's well before my time.
I just want to deal with it. Not that I expect to change your mind, Richard, and I hope we are respectfully disagreeing, even though I do get overly worked up. And I think you recognize that, and I think you know I love you. I don't agree with you that RONR is always clear that rejection of a motion equals adoption of something when the adoption has already happened. They have already de facto recognized McVeigh by our actions. So rejection of a motion to recognize Hines is in fact ratification of the prior recognition of McVeigh.
When there's not a prior recognition, you'd be correct.
Right. If this came in cleanly, like with no action.
If this was Delaware trying to be affiliated from scratch.
Yes, then I would agree with you, Richard, but it isn't. They de facto already recognized McVeigh, and they were de facto recognizing McVeigh by giving him equal standing in the argument with the duly elected the duly elected officers from convention. So I agree with you on the principle, but I disagree with the application here because there was already a prior de facto recognition that was happening. That's what caused this controversy in the first place.
I'll give you an analogy example. Here in Colorado, when we talk about ballot issues, we have a default position of no position going into discussing and voting on it. But if we don't vote to either endorse it, or if we have a motion to reject it, and it's usually one or the other, and those fail, it falls back to that default position. But it's still a fresh item coming in.
I wish JJ was here.
If we never have a vote on it in the first place, we're still at a default no position. The default position in the Delaware case was recognition of the Hines group, not recognition of the McVeigh group.
Exactly. That is how we run our affiliates. I wish JJ was here, because honestly, I don't know what JJ's opinion is on this, because he's been busy moving.
That'd be a curious question for him.
And I wonder who he probably would have a third opinion. I don't think he'd agree with us or Richard. He would probably have his own angle.
Could be.
But I haven't discussed this really with him because he's been so busy moving. And I do appreciate you so much being here, Richard, because you are definitely on the inside of this thing. So let's continue here.
So it doesn't surprise me that he was not aware the notification was posted. Whether there were posts on top of it or not is really not relevant, because the post was still there and it was possible and not even all that difficult to scroll. Mr. Roudstrep did it himself.
Okay, so if he scans it on the back, if he writes it down on the back of a cocktail napkin, he scans it with a cell phone and posts it on MySpace, does that count?
Yeah, well, he could have found it.
Yeah, just because you could find it in the vast wilderness of the internet doesn't mean it's there.
Eric Roudstrep found it because you told him to look for it.
Yes.
He wasn't just like, derpy, I'm just going to read Facebook and, oh, look what I found. But we just got to go back a second here, because Steven's face. Steven...
Looks like he was falling asleep there.
No, he's
looking up with his eyes rolling, going, are you kidding me?
It's good. I'm going to go. Just watch his face.
Ms. Adams.
Ms. Billy, Madam Chair, I would ask that we hear from Mr. Dassing first, since we have not heard.
I went back too far.
An avenue for exploiting, having a majority but not having a 2/3 to impose lasting changes on the party. So, the fact that we managed to actually get that majority before they did, that's all in the game, but that is still not actually an ideal way to operate a party affiliate.
Clearly. You mentioned earlier to Mr. Molman that anybody could have scrolled down and seen the posts that you used, the very posts that the rules that you actually exploited to institute your bylaws changes. You mentioned earlier in this meeting that you purposefully obfuscated that by doing a meme dump, but you criticized Mr. Hines for not seeing it. Was it intentional for Mr. Hines to not see the post?
Let's just say we took advantage of qualities of his personality that we assumed would continue to hold true.
So in other words, it was purposefully misleading Mr. Hines so that he and others would not be able to see the post. Is that correct?
We relied on Mr. Hines' lack of diligence and attention to detail.
Oh my God.
Okay, so in other words, yes.
In other words, we relied on Mr. Hines' lack of diligence and lack of attention to detail.
Understood.
What lack of diligence is there not scrolling through hundreds of pages of memes?
That's not diligence. That's wanting to
and hundreds is hyperbole.
I believe I answered that already, but really what it comes down to is that they were all in that questionable scenario between incompetence, obstructionist, abusive, and generally unproductive. I would say it's more or less the same reasons why this very board removed its secretary majority, but not having a 2/3 to impose lasting changes on the party.
I went back too far, but you got to do the look when he does the
fact that we managed
obstructionist
to actually
thing.
get that majority before they did, that's all in the game, but that is still not actually an ideal way to operate a party affiliate.
Clearly. You mentioned earlier, Mr. Molman, that anybody could have scrolled down and seen the posts that you used, the very posts that the rules that you actually exploited to institute your bylaws changes. You mentioned earlier in this meeting that you purposefully obfuscated that by doing a meme dump, but you criticized Mr. Hines for not seeing it. Was it intentional for Mr. Hines to not see the post?
Let's just say we took advantage of qualities of his personality that we assumed would continue to hold true.
So in other words, it was purposefully misleading Mr. Hines so that he and others would not be able to see the post. Is that correct?
We relied on Mr. Hines' lack of diligence and attention to detail.
Okay, so in other words, yes.
In other words, we relied on Mr. Hines' lack of diligence and lack of attention to detail.
Understood. What was the justification for removing the other members of the
Okay,
board
I think we
besides
went
Mr.
past it, but he was like,
I believe I answered that already, but really what it comes down to is that they were all in that questionable scenario between incompetence, obstructionist, abusive, and generally unproductive. I would say it's more or less the same reasons why
That's a look
discouraged
of, are
board
you
member
effing
secretary
kidding me?
recently.
And were your actions in closing the LP Delaware membership done specifically in order to eject a group or groups of people? If so, who?
Our actions were taken specifically to add more stringent seasoning requirements to make sure the people that were involved in making decisions on behalf of the Libertarian Party had the Libertarian Party's best interests in mind. I've said that before as well.
I have a question.
In the beginning of this meeting, when we discussed closing the chat,
Does Mr. McVeigh have a second career as a laundromat? Because he has more spin. He has more spin than one. I swear.
that I want to make a GIF of Stephen Kelly just going, what? What did I just hear? Oh my God, but I love Ryan S. A truly diligent, productive board member would be watching Facebook constantly.
And he's right. He's right.
Oh God. Oh.
He's right.
Oh.
Because it's party asset. You gotta be paying attention to what the hell's going on there.
Oh, it's in case there's
Don't
a meme
blink,
dump.
or you might miss something.
Or, yeah, you might miss a notice of bylaws amendment.
Hey, do you have a post-it nearby? I want to make a meeting notice.
Yeah. Well, as I said, we took.
I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna hang it from the ceiling up
yeah,
here.
it's not. Listen, I'm taking advantage of some.
Just make sure Wayne sees it too.
No, wait, hold on.
Where's a napkin? That'll work too.
Okay. Notice? Question mark. Let's do something nonviolent.
We're not talking about executing me at 2 o'clock.
Well, no, let's do that. Execute Mike at 2
p.m.
Yeah, and then hold on. I'm going to post this notice. It's not my fault you don't see it in my freezer.
Hold
on, I'm posting it.
She's posting it in the freezer.
There we go. Now, a truly diligent
Make sure
person,
make sure you bring yourself a beer back.
I am.
Okay.
Now, Mike, it's not my fault that you didn't see that notice.
Just make sure Wayne sees it so we can call the meeting accordingly.
Because it's in there.
Yes.
And a truly diligent co-host would see that.
Yes.
And you don't know what's going to
happen.
happen.
Although I haven't gotten back in to get more beer yet.
Well, but you want to know what's going to happen. Both you and I are going to forget about this. 2 years from now, Wayne's going to find a frozen napkin in there that says execute Mike at 2 o'clock.
He's going to wonder. He's going to go, what the hell is that all about?
I posted it, and it was in English even.
Yes, Ofrene, we do laugh about this to keep us from strangling everybody.
I got to make a gif of Stephen. We love you. Okay, let's continue because Stephen's expressions are the best.
You actually did mention in the chat, you said, keep it on, let the MC act like themselves. Do you have
beeping all the time?
Personal opinions of the MC, the Mises Caucus, as an official stated position in your role in your organization as LP Delaware chair?
Say that again. There were a lot of words there.
Yeah, I apologize. Let me make that more clear.
I didn't get all that.
There were a lot of words
Do you
there.
have an official position towards the Mises Caucus or members of your executive committee in your official roles as...
Okay, no, wait. I got to put that up because that is a perfect analogy.
It is.
Anyone who hasn't read Hitchhiker's Guide will not get this. But oh my God.
But don't panic. It's available at your local bookstore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm probably forgetting some of it, but it was about the building of the galactic
freeway.
The bypass through Earth that was going to be destroyed.
Yes.
You guys had time to leave. We posted it on the billboard. It's not our fault you didn't see it. Sucks to be you. So long and thanks for all the fish.
See, meet us at the restaurant. Meet us at the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Oh my God, Doc Sexy, that is so perfect. Okay, let's continue with Mr. Nikela, who's the GOAT.
Executive committee members of Delaware. In
Do I
other
have
words,
an official position?
yes. Do you have any
Caucus?
official
No.
position?
No, I don't have an official position on the Mises Caucus.
Okay.
I
Well,
have
your
lots of unofficial positions, but no official ones.
will your executive committee eject members to LP Delaware based upon membership in the Mises Caucus or any other caucuses?
Nope.
No.
Bull.
Okay.
Was that McVeigh or
All
Haynes?
right.
That was
Based on behavior. We accept and approve membership based on behavior.
And one of
If
the
your
behaviors we
behavior
don't accept
indicates
is
that you don't
membership
have the
in the
best
Mises
interest of the
Caucus.
Libertarian Party at heart, then you will be ejected or you will not be approved.
Oh, if you don't
Now,
have the
so
liberty,
happens to be a lot of
I know,
overlap
I know,
with
I
members
know.
of the
Wasn't
Mises.
that so?
if you don't have the interests of the party at heart, as decided by me, we will
Yes.
reject you.
Doesn't that sound so much like Mao? It's the party, comrade.
It's the party, as I say so.
Yeah, let's see. It's hard to go back here.
It's abusive
Yeah, but
and
minus
generally
timing there.
unproductive.
Oh, I do?
I would say it's
yeah,
more or
little
less
hook
the
right there
same
goes back
reasons
to
why
seconds.
this very board removed its
That
secretary.
goes forward 30, and it goes back
when
30.
we discussed closing the chat, you actually did mention in the chat, you said
Okay, that went forward too much.
Go-
is
the
there
other one goes back
any
No, I want to go
thing
forward right now.
disqualifying?
Oh,
What disqualifying traits do you and your board members look for?
Well, say for example, in response to a post about a book that talks about an author's experience, gendered individual, if you were to say reply to that post with a wood chipper, implying that transgender
And
people were
that
pedophiles and belonged in a wood chipper, or implying that transgender people just by
Okay, that doesn't. Hold on. I'm trying to think of the context of which he was talking about throwing people out of the party, but he threw everybody out of the party. But I
Wasn't
want
that a New Hampshire tweet or something? I vaguely remember something.
I
but
think
I don't remember
that,
the details.
I believe that was a New Hampshire one, but just so you know, I spoke with the individual who did that because I didn't like that post,
No.
to be honest with you. I don't like wood chipper jokes to actual pedophiles. I definitely don't like wood chipper jokes to people who definitely are not pedophiles. It was bad sarcasm, but it was never meant to be posted on the official page. You know how Facebook is, where you can accidentally post things on official pages?
Yes.
This was not supposed to be on the page, and that person apologized and got removed. Not from the party, but from posting privileges.
And they took the post down.
And they took the post down. So I don't agree with that post, not defending that post, but it was taken care of.
But the moral of that story also is, rather than have instant outrage, wait a minute, let's see if things settle out first.
Yeah, but just, I didn't even know that was brought up here, but I don't like helicopter jokes, and I don't like wood chipper jokes, even though I don't like communists or pedophiles. I just don't like violent jokes. That's me.
I don't know any wood chipper
issue of
jokes.
being transgendered belonged in a wood chipper, that would be pretty disqualifying, I think.
Okay, so is that a specific individual you're referencing?
I don't know who exactly was responsible for it, but I can guess it was one of the three people that we threw off of the board in October, and they deserved it for that reason alone, even though it didn't happen.
It was a New Hampshire
Okay,
person.
so
It wasn't
one of
any
those
those
three
people.
members, but you can't.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: if there's a specific,
believe.
let's
I could be
say
wrong.
you
I think
have
you're right.
a member looking
I
to
vaguely
join your
remember seeing
organization,
I had the
myself.
discussion with the person who said
and
it
they
was
happen to
wrong and
be a
they
member
apologized
of the
for it.
Mises Caucus or any other caucus for that matter, what specific disqualifying factors would disqualify them from becoming members of the LP Delaware?
I just told you one
Yeah,
specific
yeah,
qualifying
That's
factor.
not that's not a factor. That's not a trait. That's not something you could say. Well, this person. Okay, if somebody, that's a very specific thing that I'm assuming is a specific scenario that you're mentioning. But what criteria?
I mean, look,
because
Mr.
we're
Michaela, let me put it to
we're
you this
talking
way.
about. Look, hey, let me finish. Let me
Excuse
finish.
me.
Let finish.
Objection,
Gentlemen,
Madam Chair, point of
gentlemen.
order.
Yeah, the objection's not necessary. I'm hearing it.
God, that was
We're
wrong.
going to stop this here. Mr. Nikela,
Okay, I
it
do have
sounds to
one
me like
motion
you
I'd
are
like to
asking
make.
Mr. McVeigh to make predictions about things that he's not the only person involved in
Yeah,
decision
then I'd
making
like
for
to-
that.
Mr.
So
Then I'd
I'm
like-
going to go ahead and end that.
Then I'd
You
like
have
to-
another question that
What
is
is even? No, read
reasonable?
Stephen's look again. Stephen, you are
Get the
just.
minus
Well, I'm
30
just
for
trying.
you.
Okay, hey, let me finish. Let me
excuse
finish.
me.
Objection,
Gentlemen,
Madam Chair, point of
gentlemen.
order.
Yeah, the objection's not necessary. I'm hearing it.
No reason to be snotty.
We're going to stop this here.
Well, then that
Mr.
was stopped
Nikela,
before.
Okay, I
it
do have
sounds to
one
me like
motion
you
I'd
are
like to
asking
make.
Mr. McVeigh to make predictions about things that he's not the only person involved in
Yeah,
decision
then I'd
making
like
for
to-
that.
Mr.
So
Then I'd
I'm
like-
going to go ahead and end that.
Then
We
I'd like
have
to-
another question that is reasonable.
I love you, Stephen. I love
It was
you.
missing
Well, I'm
this.
just trying to figure out, what are the factors that I mean, clearly there
Oh,
was.
why is Steve Frank joining this early?
Has this question already been asked?
I'd like to make a motion.
Uh-oh. Did I told him my time.
I move to create an ad hoc special committee whose purpose is to review the founding documents of the affiliates as requested by the affiliates, to make suggestions for professionalizing the rules in regards to members' rights. I'm seeking a second.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I mean, that motion. Clearly, there was.
Let me back up a second here.
Has this question already been asked?
I'd like to make a motion. I move to create an ad hoc special committee whose purpose is to review the founding documents of the affiliates as requested by the affiliates, to make suggestions for professionalizing the rules in regards to members' rights. I'm seeking a second.
Okay, pausing that for a minute here while Carrie Ann's texting D. Frank. This point right here was all in good nature, but it was all good intentions, but it opens up a can of worms. Specifically, in this case, it has everything to do with the idea of... Now, granted, he says, if the affiliates request it. But later on the business list, we had, I think it was Lucchini, saying that that's going to fact that we should just do it anyway, regardless of whether they ask or not, which is a big no-no because it violates the bylaws.
Yeah.
The idea of having a committee, assuming they get the right people on it, which is a challenge, to look at state bylaws and I don't know if I'm about the charters per se,
Yeah.
but definitely the bylaws and get them up to snuff and have it make sense. It's a good idea. Delaware's bylaws are crap. Ours in Colorado are, while they're not perfect, they're really damn good. Why?
But this situation,
because we put the time and effort over the past decade.
They can
to get
always
them
be
that way.
improved, though.
Yeah,
And
it's always
just,
a work in progress. But I wanted to pause up there to point that out, that this is where that unfortunate set of events started. And we don't blame Mr. Nicola for it. His intentions are good. But it opens a can of worms that we really don't need to open in this manner. States should be diligent in making sure their bylaws are up to snuff, both in terms of good structure and composition, and also in compliance with their state law.
just in case anyone's worried, it was my fault. I didn't communicate properly to D. Frank when, but 7 Mountain Time, he's fine with.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
And that's it's good. State affiliates and even local affiliates should be doing this as a matter of course. For us in Colorado, our bylaws are a work in progress, even though they've come a long way. There's always something that's going to pop up, which is going to find a problem with them that requires to fix. COVID has been a beautiful example of that. We never anticipated anything like that happening until it happened. And that's so we had to go back and say, okay, first we had to figure out how to get out of the mess. And then how do we fix it so that if this happens again, we can address it? And we've done that.
I'm telling you, like I said, Steven, just the expressions is just entertaining me.
Yeah.
As long as the camera's on him, I'm like happy. Let's see what's
Anyway,
good.
he's seeking a second.
Oh, what was the motion?
About the affiliates review of the bylaws and shit.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I mean, that motion wasn't noticed. I don't have that motion in
it's-
front of me. I can't. There's no way
This was
that
a special
any of us
meeting. He
be
couldn't do that.
expected to second a motion that we've not seen or had any
Shut up,
opportunity.
Whose purpose
he's
is
right.
to review the founding documents of the.
Yeah, but he's right, though. It wasn't
My understanding
noticed.
is that these special meetings, as called,
Special meeting.
are limited to very specific.
No, they're right on that.
And
Can I get recognized? Our state affiliates, and we need to recognize the people who were put into place to lead those state affiliates by the membership of that body. And so I would urge you guys to vote yes on this. I think that it's very, very important that we recognize, the members of that state board who were duly elected by their state.
So this is the motion
body,
to recognize
by their
Hines.
membership, and not the ones that have tried to usurp the board. I mean, the very small amount of people out of 2,100 people that have decided that they and they alone get to
Joshua?
decide who becomes
it is.
members of the party, who gets to serve as national
I don't know why
as
the
national
camera focus-
delegate, who gets to serve
Is it
on the
still
state
Whitney
board.
underneath me?
Our place is saying, hey, you can't
some
just do
reason,
this in
the
state
Zoom
parties. It's
meeting
not how that's not how it
projection on the
works.
screen
And
was not
with
capturing
this
people
motion,
who
we
were
have the
speaking.
opportunity
staying on
to say,
Stephen, which
no,
is entertaining
the
to me,
right
but-
state board is the one that was elected by
He's
your
growing a
membership
badass
duly.
beard,
So
isn't
I
he?
would hope that you
That's
guys,
one of the reasons
as
why I was
national
over years, because you had everybody
leaders,
At everybody,
would have
yeah.
the gall to say that and support this motion. Thank you, guys.
That's why I wasn't so entertained by Steven
I
online
have
because it,
1, 2, 4 people on deck to speak. And at this point, we've exhausted
didn't
all
notice
of
how
the
nice his beard is
first-time
getting.
speakers.
Charlie
So I'm going to
Blackman
ask
over
that
there.
those of you who are on deck to speak, that would be Phillips, Nana, Hogarth, and Lucchini. If you could indicate for me with the green checks and red X's whether you are speaking for or against
So
this
bad,
motion,
good,
so that we can
good, right? Did I have it right?
What was the order?
Try to be balanced here.
Well, it was. Who's first? Phillips is first.
All right,
so bad,
next
good,
in line, accordingly, then is Mr. Phillips.
Yeah, bad.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, this is going to sound weird since I'm speaking against this motion. I want to say that I pretty much agree with everything that Mr. Smith and Mr. Nicola said.
Then why are you voting against the motion?
I find that the way this was done was pretty shoddy. I find that the limitations on membership imposed are absolutely unacceptable. Having said that, I think that this motion is the wrong way to go about correcting that situation.
Did he vote to disaffiliate though?
I would, I'll entertain all kinds of other motions,
like what?
Up to and including disaffiliation.
Okay. Did he vote for disaffiliation
at this time? But picking one side over the other
but did he end up voting yes?
I don't remember. I believe is beyond the scope of our jobs, and particularly one that even if we disagree with the ethics behind it, does appear to dot the I's and cross the T's.
It does not, though, dot the I's. That's where Susan missed me. It did not dot the I's.
I am against this motion as recognizing the old board. I don't have language to present to make a substitute or an amendment. I'm willing to be persuaded to another course of action, just not this particular one. Thank you.
Mr. Nana.
Yeah, so this motion doesn't address all of my concerns, but I think it's a good compromise between what I think should actually happen at this point, which is disaffiliation. And the side that I believe to be the rightful board has indicated that they would like to try to avoid disaffiliation at this time. So I'm going to respect that, and I'm going to support this motion.
Mr. Lucchini, I don't see any icons next to your. Are you dropping out of line?
No,
okay.
I
see it now.
Sorry,
I see it now. Okay, you're up then.
Okay. So number one, I believe this meeting was called for the purpose of discussion of the Delaware situation, not action. But if the chair believes that this motion is order, then I guess it's an order.
I called for this meeting, and I called to discuss it in the hopes that we would take
he
that.
would vote for disaffiliation, and he abstained.
He said he would entertain motions up to
anyway,
disaffiliation.
Well,
obviously, I defer to the chair on what
I
she thinks
understood
whether or not
that way,
this
but
motion
fair
is in
enough.
order. I will say that I've told Ms. Hogarth this repeatedly. I've told both of the purported chairs, the former chair and the current chair, that I believe the proper course of action is they need to solve this in civil court in Delaware. We are not a judicial body. We suck at it.
Yeah, you do.
We've tried to do it in the past.
I'm going to clip that.
The history of the
gotta
LNC
clip that one.
itself into conflicts is not just Oregon. It's also
I agree with you, Mr. Lucchini. You
Arizona
do
and
suck
Florida.
at it.
We have never done this well. I see no reason to believe that we will do this well now.
Look at Stephen.
And even if this board passes this motion, it basically has no effect because there's still going to have to be civil action.
No, there won't.
Inside Delaware in front of a competent court.
No, there won't.
To decide,
and it's not the LNC's business. Let McVeigh sue.
The losing side to comply with whatever the court orders. So it's excellent virtue signaling.
It's virtue signaling. McVeigh, excuse me.
I think
Lucchini, McVeigh, they're pretty interchangeable. Lucchini does not know what words mean.
Of course not.
In this
By the way,
sticky
Mr.
situation.
H. written the motion is to disaffiliate
No. This motion
like to suggest
was to recognize Hines.
Oh, recognize Hines, excuse me.
A certain amount of time be given for Mr. Hines' faction to actually file a suit
Okay, stop here. Hold on. So, whenever any pretender board comes up, this is our fucking regional representative. If some pretender board comes up in Colorado, what he's telling the Colorado board and every other single regional board, I hope you are paying attention to your incompetent Region 1 representative, that your only remedy is to file suit. That the National Party, who is there to recognize and defend your rights, will not. And neither will your regional representative. What a piece of crap.
This guy is supposed to be a very intelligent guy.
He is very intelligent, actually.
Then why is he doing so damn stupid?
Well, maybe not in these things, but listen, Lucchini's no dummy.
Well, he's acting like one here.
You know, you can be really smart on some things and really dumb on others.
I know. But...
You know, like he's made a shit ton of money. Like people don't know. That dude's loaded. Like he is smart.
Well, then maybe you should retain somebody to teach him these things.
look at Steven's going, oh God, help me, sweet Jesus.
I mean, I'm not exactly Richie Rich here, but even I understand some of this stuff a little better than he does.
He's not good with this stuff, but Lucchini's no dummy. I mean, he might be not good on this.
I wouldn't have him fly my satellites.
Action to then have the LNC follow along with whatever the court has decided. And that's not now.
Yes, narcissistic. The look of boredom and disbelief is pretty amazing.
Accordingly, we'll vote against this action, I think. Or this motion, I should say. That's my inclination right now.
I know Whitney got pretty
Ms. Hogarth, before
too,
you speak, I have two
can't.
people who have also raised their hands, Mr. Ford and Mr. Molman. Mr. Ford, are you speaking for or against this?
Okay, this ought to be good.
Obviously,
you really good.
I'm speaking for it. I'll be happy to wait my turn.
Okay, and Mr. Molman?
I have a question for Mr. Brown, but it's not urgent.
Okay, Ms. Hogarth, please proceed.
Yeah. So every time this has come up, people say, "Oh, and other."
Okay, I want to stop here 1 second.
LNC has
Susan's first argument, which was earlier in the meeting, sucked. She got much better now. I think this is when she started coming into her own here.
Okay.
I think she did a really good argument here.
intervened in state parties. It's been a disaster. I think what's missing from that formula is that they were disasters and the LNC intervened. So people are confusing cause and effect. I don't think the fact that the LNC has taken a position vis-a-vis state parties when it's necessary spells disaster. I think that's the role of the National Party. But I'm glad Mr. Lucchini brought up the thing about court. I do think there's a good chance this will end up in court because I believe
where is there a law
that several people in this
Never mind.
dispute are intractable. But I think that it's important as a private organization that we take action first. We are an affiliate. We're a national party with 51, I believe, affiliates. And the courts, of course, the first thing they will say is, what does your national parent affiliate say or parent organization say? And I think it's incumbent upon us to show that leadership, to make the determination. And yes, then absolutely, if the parties can't work together and they go to court, then they will have, they'll have the first thing checked off to work with. I'm sorry, Mr. Ford, I did have,
she's not the best debater.
Wanted Mr. Hagan to repost the exact wording. I feel like there was maybe an amendment that we could add that mentioned that was the recognized affiliate. I'm not sure if you use that terminology.
Let's move forward.
Okay.
And by allowing this
it's Ford.
newer group
I want to go back. I want to go back to forward.
To use Mr. County affiliate.
Because he's good.
Okay, so it's my turn.
Your hand is still up, so I don't know if it's left over from when you made the motion or what.
God, you're so unorganized.
No,
do you have something new to say?
No, I want to weigh in. I deferred my opportunity to chat once we actually went into debate. I just need to point out that this is not a top-down execution of authority whatsoever.
He's right.
That actually happened in a sense when the current regime engaged in, by their own definition, some rather questionable activities in order to get their day. It's been reaffirmed by the fact that obviously there is a groundswell to some degree of opposition against it by, if you will, the county affiliates in the party.
There is. And he's just
We have the
disaffiliating
right
them.
as both libertarians
Newcastle first
and the
on the list?
national organization to decide
They've been disaffiliated.
whom we are going to
They're
do
refusing
business
to
with.
accept it, like I'm
And that is
refusing to
not a
accept the
comment on the
illegitimate
integrity
ouster by the
of
LNC.
the-
I've seen the back and forth
or
on
the
that on
existence
Facebook stuff,
of
yeah.
the affiliate. It is simply a question of who do we believe was rightfully elected. And after hearing the evidence this evening, it's clear, I believe, very clear, crystal clear. And to use Mr. Lucchini's words, I am outraged by it. I am absolutely outraged that this type of subterfuge would take place.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Pat Ford was the best.
what's the oldest cliche? 2 wrongs don't make a right.
But 3 lefts do.
They may have the best of intentions by their own thoughts and their own perspective, but we have procedures and we recognize individuals in this party and individual rights. And by allowing this newer group to assume control or to continue to assume control, then what we are effectively doing is rewarding bad, impolite behavior. I'll just keep it at that. And that is so far beyond the definition of what I interpret a libertarian to actually be. This type of behavior, this type of aggression, this type of subterfuge, that allowing it is a tacit admission.
I think there's vodka
that
in
we
that.
will
That's
continue
all
to
I
deal
gotta
with
think.
whomever,
Could be.
you know, whomever does whatever to take control. That the old rule in New York, where I come from, is that if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. You simply can't let this sit. Now,
I thought that was
you know,
Chicago.
will they have their day in court? Absolutely. Do I believe this will go to court? Absolutely. Until people figure out how much it's going to cost. And then maybe folks who oppose the originally elected board of directors and the originally elected officers will say, you know what? It's a year till the next convention. Maybe I'll just go out and make sure that I generate a bunch of new members in a fair membership process, and I'll do it the right way, which is by convincing people that their vision for the Libertarian Party of Delaware is the best one for libertarians everywhere. Thank you.
Well,
You did good.
Well stated.
Ms. Hogarth.
See if she does better here. I thought she did really well.
Mr. Ford, if this is okay, I would like to add to move another amendment.
Now
I would like to.
Oh God.
Mr. Phillips.
Oh no.
You're going to hate me, and I'm probably getting too far into the weeds. And
Yeah.
if I am, you can tell me just shut up.
Shut up.
But during the earlier testimony, we heard, if I heard correctly, and if I didn't, maybe somebody can correct me on that as well, that however you want to just call them, the current board removed every single member of their party,
Notice how he said current
including
board.
themselves,
He's
and
acknowledging
then added themselves back in.
The legitimacy
In
of
effect,
the McVeigh
isn't
board.
that forming a new party, which then makes this point moot because they dissolved the party, and we don't have to take action. They've dissolved the party and have to reform
the party. God dang, he's clueless some days. And the letter Y, as in why us.
That's a excellent point, Mr. Phillips. If that's the case, then you're right. None of this is. I mean, it would be the same effect. It would all be moot, and then we just
No, because
take
they
applications.
immediately put members back in.
Oh, but only certain ones.
Yeah, but
What
it didn't dissolve
information?
the party.
Yeah.
Okay. We see what kind of meeting this was. Let's just go a little bit further.
There was a very specific reason I said spirit of the bylaws and not letter of the bylaws.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was
but I'll
against the
argue
letter of the
against
bylaws, too.
spirit of the bylaws because that's very, very objectionable.
Well, that's the amendment I'm making, and I'm just explaining why I worded it that way. I didn't say that they violated the letter of. I said they violated the spirit of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, but I still want to argue against it for that reason.
Okay. Mr. Rodstedt, are you, I still have you listed. Is it for the amendment or is it for the main motion altogether?
So would it
well,
be in order
I'm bored of that already. So I think we got basically what's going on here. Yeah. So that was fun. So they basically did nothing. I want to see what that last vote was. I have it here.
Yeah.
So the motion to disaffiliate.
That's it.
He didn't put the totals on it here.
That's right below.
I know, but he didn't put it here. I'm just being a bitch, just so you know. Okay, so the motion failed.
Is it up on the screen?
Which is disaffiliate.
Is that up on the screen?
No, it's not. I'm looking
Okay.
at. This is wrong. Motion.
Scroll up a little more.
No, but hold on. A roll call on the rod suit substitute with the following results. Disaffiliate. This is terrible minutes, Tim. I'm doing minutes for this meeting, by the way, because I'm still secretary. Disaffiliate.
Yes, you are.
He says it. Okay, it failed. Okay, requires. Okay, I got it now. He needed to put up at the top here the 3/4. Okay, 835. There were 5 abstentions.
Adams, Longstreth,
Lucchini.
Region 1.
Yeah.
Phillips and the chair.
She abstained because her vote wouldn't have made a difference, and
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And the no's.
Epke.
Vieira and Sarwark.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones who very definitely approve of what McVeigh has done. I'm sorry, there's no other way to interpret that.
Right.
And, I'll give credit where credit is due.
Just rattle them off.
Well, it's actually Hagen. I'll give credit to Hagen. Because everyone else we already rattled off. The only surprise in this vote to disaffiliate, which was the second best thing they could have done.
Yeah.
So I was in favor at the time, was Hagen.
Right.
Hagen was a surprise here.
Mm-hmm.
Hagen was a surprise, yes.
Yeah, but they needed 3/4 of the vote, which would have been 3/4 of the 16.
Right.
Which would have been 12.
Right. So, I mean, it wasn't even close.
Right.
Because of all the abstentions.
Right. The people who had absolutely no balls. But anyway.
When it comes to things like this, you vote.
Yeah. You do.
You vote. I'm sorry. On votes like this, you vote. Because your abstention isn't a real abstention. When it requires a vote of the entire LNC, your abstention is effectively a no. You are not escaping responsibility. So the no's by abstention for disaffiliation were Adams, no guts. Longstreth, we already knew he had no guts. Lucchini, Phillips. Bill, I'm not counting because unless her vote would have made a difference, she shouldn't vote. So I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming her for that.
Yeah, in this case, it wouldn't have. Maybe that's a special rule that needs to be put in play. When it requires a vote of the entire committee, you can't abstain.
Yeah, you can't remove somebody's. I mean, you can in bylaws, but
well, yeah,
I wouldn't. But still, if those 4 abstentions had voted yes, it would have passed. It would have been 12.
Right.
Or if they had the guts, because I really believe they are no's, because they are effectively no's.
Oh, you can guarantee that Adams and Phillips were no.
Yeah.
So right there, that's 2 of the 4.
I'm sorry, on votes that require a vote of the entire LNC, okay, you can abstain, obviously, but just recognize you're a no.
Yeah.
You're effectively a no.
You just don't have the guts to say it.
You just don't have the guts to say it. So the ones that effectively recognize, McVeigh, is Adams, Epke, Vieira, Longstreth, Lucchini, Phillips. And we're not counting Bill Yu.
And Sarwark.
And Sarwark, yeah, because we would have only been able to deal with her if she was a deciding vote. Mm-hmm. She did the right thing there. Look, he didn't put the totals on any of these.
You just put it below it, which was
yeah. I mean, I usually do both.
Yeah.
And these, I don't like the way he does minutes, but that's okay. It's not the way I do minutes. It's fine. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just I'm not used to. I mean, that's wrong. Not putting the totals. The rest is just style. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Gregory Cook. That is the case.
Yeah. He did abstain on my removal, and he realized that was a no. And he intended it for it to be a no. He abstained in protest of the whole process. I wish he would have voted no, but he explained his abstention as a protest vote, that it didn't have due process.
Right.
I didn't agree. I wish he would have voted no, but I understand his. He would have voted no because of the nap thing was the most thing. He found that very offensive, but it was the no due process. He felt that he couldn't even. It wouldn't have surprised me if he had voted present, which is really an indignant thing. I voted present once before. Wait, I forgot which one it was. It was something I just got so offended by that I wouldn't even say abstain. I just said present.
We should go through some comments, but then we also got to break out of here soon so we can eat before the next.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I don't like what he's making, but that's okay. Yeah. I think I had gone through comments. We had been. Well, I mean, there was one troll comment I wasn't going to.
There's one I'll address here, and that's to my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is true, but that's also why I married you.
Yeah, because you're good in botany.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I married you, because we complement each other's with our knowledge bases and our skill sets. That's why we've been together for almost 30 years.
4:45 is not too early to eat dinner when you have a Radical Caucus board meeting at 6 and then a live stream with Mike and
Special guest D. Frank Robinson
at 7.
Yes.
So we have an hour to eat and and do stuff. So, all right, everyone.
Yes, we're having it's not quite a marathon broadcast. We just have a marathon of broadcasts.
Yeah, multiple broadcasts.
Yes.
I think
we're not even doing Cult of Honor today.
No, not at all today. And I'm going to the LNC meeting next week. Eric Radsep is the GOAT for nominating me for secretary, but of course.
Yes, that was hilarious.
That was good. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to do a whole show on this. And the fact is, the LNC will never go for it. But if they were politically smart, they would. They would, because
it would give them the ability to save face in light of all this rest of this fiasco.
And it's not just saving face; it's bringing some kind of peace to the party. Mm-hmm. Especially since, and you don't know this, I don't think I've told you this, I am still willing to agree to some limitations as concessions.
Well, yeah, because the offer that was put out there during the deliberations of the JC is still out there.
It's still out there.
Yes, they rejected it on the LNC, which was a mistake. Mm-hmm. But that's not because these terms were not acceptable to you. Yeah. And I know these terms because I helped you write them.
Yeah, no. So and that's what I intend on saying at the LNC meeting, actually, in December. I intend to bring up that you can't just simply accept the JC ruling without accepting the fact that the JC ruling also said that each and every one of you who voted for it says that I violated the membership pledge. And if you want to go into National Convention with that albatross around your neck, that is beyond pride. That is setting the party up for a party split. Mm-hmm. And you should swallow your pride on that. And the way to swallow your pride on that is to reinstate me. Now, if you think that you have the votes and I legitimately did something wrong, you can always recharge me without that. Mm-hmm. But they know they don't have the votes because they only had the votes because they snuck Sexton in. Unless one of the no votes changed their mind. I don't know. I haven't been talking with them.
That's something we go into later.
But we could go into it later. But if the LNC wanted to do the right thing and set up Reno to do their best at avoiding a party split, they would reinstate me. They won't, but they should.
Because they want to cut their nose off just by
their face. And in order to facilitate that, I am willing once again to offer the same concessions, which is to miss the next LNC meeting, which would be March, which would be the last one, and take the minutes over the phone, and abstain on motions up till then, unless they have to do with those very limited subject matters. I am willing to accept accept a censure without objection, even though I don't agree. I am willing to do that for the sake of the party. And I will say that again publicly. We will know who is willing to sacrifice for the party or not. But if they expect that I will stop streams criticizing where I think they're wrong, no, I cannot do that and not offend my own conscience. Everybody is open to political criticism. I encourage every LNC member to start a YouTube channel.
As Dr. Ruart put in her dissent opinion, okay, I'm going to summarize it. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah, no, will never agree to stop criticizing. That would be a disservice to the members. However, I encourage other LNC members to criticize. And here's the thing: you don't want to be criticized, don't do things worthy of criticism. Such as here, I was on Susan's side. Because she did the right thing. This isn't a personality thing to me, unlike it obviously is with you guys and me. It's not a personality thing. On this, I am 100% behind Susan Hogarth. Just because I said she's not the best debater, so what? I'm not the best, I don't know.
But she got this one right.
There's a lot of things I'm not the best at. That has nothing to do with anything. She got this right. She was on the right side of this. I wish I had been there to give the parliamentary backup that she needed because she didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
But this LNC will have the opportunity, and they won't take it. I hope to be proven wrong. Again, if I'm proven wrong on that, which I won't be, this is why I always will make these promises. I will, write in Sharpie on my head, I love Bill Weld for multiple podcasts. I'm so confident at saying that because I know they won't take it.
Right.
Okay? But what's the Mandalorian thing? This is the way. Mm-hmm. This is the way. They could come into this convention with a semblance of peace and knowing that somebody who knows how to do secretarial shit is actually doing the secretarial shit at convention. Because right now, I'm not going to bad speak any of the candidates. I don't know their abilities. I don't know. I know mine. I don't know theirs.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I am going to, that's my intent, is to make that offer again. If they are politically smart and care about the party, in my opinion, they will accept it.
Okay. One last comment to address here. And it's not Doc Sexy, who's making a good joke. Offernace says, I don't understand what the fear of a party split when the Mises folks outnumbers everyone 2-1 while still outgrowing them. Because the problem is that, number one, that's not a uniform spread throughout the entire party. It varies by state. And the second reason about it is that even as they're still growing, you're still on the clock to get to the point of, as they use it in their emails, takeover, whether you agree with it or not, that's what they're using, to get control of these various state affiliates in order to get enough delegates to Reno to continue to work they're trying to accomplish.
Your first point was the most important one, though. It's not even throughout the party. So if they're... And I'm going to say something else that might not please some Mises people, because I'm not here to please anybody. I'm not looking for the LP to become the Mises Caucus.
No.
I want divergent opinions in this party.
Right. And I'm talking about a tactical perspective.
Yeah. But I mean, in general, I don't want people to leave. I want the Libertarian Party to be libertarian, but within the diversity of libertarian thought.
Right.
I would be fighting these same battles if it were the Prags that were on the receiving end of these bullshit moves. This isn't about the Mises Caucus to me. However...
Others are making it that way.
This isn't 7, D. Frank. 7 my time.
Yeah, you're an hour early, D. Frank.
Can you text him? Can you send him a private message and say it's...
I don't necessarily have his phone number.
No. Facebook.
I can do that, yeah.
Tell him it's 5 in like 2 hours is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I can do that, I think.
Okay. So, to the first point, though, it's not evenly split. So let's say, though, I wanted some Mises party. The fact is, some states would be on one side, some states would be on the other. It's not evenly split. These two quote-unquote sides, and there's more than two sides, that's why I'm putting quote-unquote, cannot survive a party split. No one will survive a party split because no one can afford to regain all of this ballot access. And let me tell you something that people don't know, that's the ticking time bomb. The Libertarian Party does not own the rights to the word Libertarian Party. I do not believe in intellectual property, but the National Party believes in intellectual property. And guess what? We didn't trademark the name Libertarian Party till 1990. Which means that all of these affiliates that are using it that may go one way that's different from the way the current National Party goes are going to be fighting in court for 10 years over who gets to use the name. And that will kill everyone. So I am so like, I can't even more passionately enough say to anyone who is even saying things like, I'm not worried about a party split, or I welcome a party split, or who cares? I cannot say to you passionately enough, you're signing your own death warrant for this party. A party split will kill this party. It will kill both sides.
It almost killed it in 2008.
And I will do everything I can to avoid a party split. I don't want my cause, I don't want what happened to me to become a rallying point for a party split. Absolutely not. I want absolutely nothing to do with that. So that is why I am willing to swallow my pride and make concessions to this LNC in order to avoid a party split. Because I do not want to be any part of a party split at all. I want to make that absolutely clear. Neither side will survive. To me, it's like these people in this country who are like thirsting for some kind of revolution. You don't know what you're asking for. Revolutions like both, you know, and I'm talking about violence. You know,
revolutions don't determine who's right, just
right.
who's left.
Right, exactly. And sometimes there's nobody left.
Yeah.
Like, it's not glory, it's gore. And there's a difference between gore and glory. And
not just a spelling. Yeah.
And that's why I'm in the political process, because I abhor violence. And I know, you know, I when I read these history books of all these like young men in the South that were so eager for a civil war, and then, you know, they came home missing their legs. You know, that's what happens. This party cannot survive a party split. I hope anyone who has that in their head gets it out of their head. And if you continue, if that's your goal, just know that's not mine. I'm not on your side on that. No party split. We will both die. Okay. It's mutually assured destruction.
Little interjection here because we're running out of time, but in 2008 there was a major split developing in the Denver Convention with the party over bar and route. I was there on the floor at the time it happened. And I will tell you this right now, that the same type of situation was close to happening, and it was avoided because of one thing. And that was because Dr. Mary Ruart nominated Steve Cubby for the vice presidential thing as a way to try to get the people who had literally walked off the floor of the convention back on there. And Cubby, while he didn't get the nomination for vice president, gave one of the best damn speeches about party unity you will ever hear. If you want to go back to the OA convention, I suggest you find a video somewhere and listen to it, because it takes exactly what Karen Ann was saying and puts it in an emphasis of literally 13, 14 years ago, but it's still true today.
That weighs so heavily on me when I see a lot of people who are rallying to my cause and then using the language of a party split. That's not me.
Yeah.
I don't support that. That's not my cause, ever, whatsoever. Offer asks, is a party split worse than sharing a party with bad faith actors? Bad faith actors have very little endurance. Mm-hmm. You have to out-endure them. Yes, a party split is worse than sharing a party with bad faith actors, because a party split will mean no party. And I do think having a party is better than having no party, because then there is still something to save.
And it gives license and ratification and validation to the bad faith actors.
And let me tell you, we are the political wing of the libertarian movement. Without the Libertarian Party, the political wing of the libertarian movement is dead. And it's left in the hands of quote-unquote liberty Republicans. And I'm not willing to do that. And I'm not willing to be a rallying point for that. Mm-hmm. So anyone who may have misunderstood my rancor towards the LNC, it's towards this LNC. It's not towards this party. It's not any kind of advocation of a party split. And when I go to Massachusetts, you know, I might be critical of the LNC in many, many ways, but I will make it clear that I will do whatever peaceful thing I can do. You know, if there is a compromise that can be made between me and the LNC that doesn't require me compromising my principles, I will take it in order to avoid a party split. Mm-hmm. Because keeping this party together is more important than my pride. It's not more important than my principles. I will never, ever sacrifice my principles. But I will swallow my pride to keep this party together. So, I mean, that's all I have to say on that. I hope that was clear.
I don't think it can get any clearer.
Yeah.
As I said, in no way, Cubby saved the party. And from a split that could have been disastrous. Yeah, Barr and Root may not have been the greatest candidates for we had, but they were the ones who were chosen.
Oh, see, I messed up.
And we got past that. We can get past this too.
Okay, I have my time zones wrong. Sorry, I suck at time zones.
I sent him a message.
I know, but I messed up too.
Yeah.
I'm a dork.
Well, what time was that radical thing supposed to start?
In an hour.
At 7?
No, it's 5 here. It starts at 8 Eastern, which is 6 here.
Oh, shit. Oh, no wonder your clock's still on. Your clock is still on.
Yeah, no, this clock is wrong.
Your clock's on daylight savings time.
Yeah, this... that clock is wrong. That clock is right.
I was looking at that one.
All right, everyone. Now, I hope that impassioned plea, like, didn't offend anybody, but I'm just telling you my heart. So, like, anyone who says, like, I have the ill intent of this party at heart can go, themselves with implement of which you can probably guess, because
a metallic enhanced
because
implement.
I may dislike this current LNC, but I love this party. All right, everyone, we got to go eat. So we'll see you at 7 Mountain.
Something like that.
With D. Frank Robinson, where we will be talking about, do mere words violate the membership pledge or the NAP? And I'm going to give him lots of opportunity to talk about the Judicial Committee opinion and his opinion about the suspension language, in which Mike has sympathies for him on that language. I think he's absolutely wrong, and he's aware of that. But I want to
totally agree with him either.
But, but you have way more sympathy toward it than I do.
We
from what I understand,
we may have a three-way discussion here going on.
But I'm mostly gonna, because he's the party founder, I want to give him a lot of room to talk. So yeah, we'll see you then. All right, bye-bye.
What you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.